Are you ready? Oh, oh, there I am. I was trying to find me, and I wasn't anywhere to be found. But hey, you know, here I am. And there you are, because you, like me, have nothing better to do. Welcome, anyone and everyone who may or may not be here now or later, because we all know how the restream works, which is where a lot of us actually watch. The live stuff, it's a quick, you got to find that niche, find that time, find that topic, and you got to have whoever is going to help you sort through whatever the hell is you're going to muse about, do that with you. Unless you've got a line of bullshit 12 miles long, like some people we know, who can go on and have a conversation with themselves, which in these days and these times is probably one of the most important things people can do is have a conversation with yourself. Ponder the possibilities of the pollution and parasites in your cranium. Think about that for a minute, huh? Hmm? Because if there isn't more to think about now than there ever has been, there never has been more to think about than there is now. And I don't know about all y'all, but I am having one hell of a good time thinking and observing and just watching all of the amazing shit unfold into a cacophony of chaos. And as bad as it is, it's actually very, very good. And I think people are going to see it more that way as it rolls out and rolls on and unfolds before us. Because, hey, it's awesome. You know, if you've listened to any of my BS for any length of time, even in shorts on my channel. Shorts on my channel. Yeah, all right. So back to wherever that nugget was. Nuggets in the shorts. Yeah, there are nuggets in the shorts on my channel. I will admit that. And you are free to go foliage fool about and root around in the nuggets and see what you find, because there's things that I think are worth thinking about, because that's what the Nexus is all about. It's about that intersection, that the true interconnectedness of all that is, because it's all interconnected. And if you don't look at it that way, or at least open your eyes long enough to see if that could be a possibility, I got to tell you, you are missing out on the wonder of the woo. And when you find the wonder of the woo, you end up wandering in the woo, and the next thing you know, you've got woo all over you. And you end up doing the woo-do that you do, hopefully, so well. So, yeah, there we go. That is my, whatever that kind of was, kind of something ramble intro. I hope you enjoyed the music. That was mainly Mateo Mancuso, who is I think he's in his late 20s, maybe 26, 27, and has taken playing guitar and the technique and the approach to it to an entirely different level, and playing some amazing stuff. So he's currently on one of my favorite repeat lists of my musical muse and consumption. All right, Karen and Jim are in the house. I think we may see Jason. I don't know about Clay, but it is a last minute. Didn't know that I was going to do this, but here I am doing it. So I know that there's usually a handful of folks out there on Saturday nights that ain't got nothing better to do than hang out here. So I thought, I'm going to try some of the new Riverside Studio stuff. They got some great things that they've added, so I'm looking forward to that. And we're going to try this right now, actually. This is the live call-in link, which Riverside has now implemented. And it allows people to call into the show instead of coming into the studio and going into the show. So we're going to try that out. If it doesn't work, then those who are really sadly waiting to get in will do the regular Riverside studio link. So here comes the link in the chat, and hopefully this will work. And you should be able to click on the link, and then it will take you to just like you were coming into the studio. And I don't know if there's any limitations on it other than you should be able to just do it. So here we go. Here comes the link. Is there a link so I can be on live? Jim, you're always live. Live is what you are. And why am I not? That's right. That's right. That's right. And how about a round of just awesomeness for Mateo? That young man has got a long future of footwork in front of him. So let's see. Do I have anybody who's trying to get in? Have you guys clicked that link? Click the link. I think I may be in. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody in. Let's see. No CO Hero Yeto. You're such a guinea pig. Yes, you are, Karen. We all need to be guineas now and then. Now, I don't see anything. I got nada on my end. Have to switch server, okay? Jim? Come on, Jim. Click that link. I don't see anybody who is trying to call in and join the show. Nada. I can hear you and see you, but I don't have video on my end. Jim, you know how in the past we've had some trouble like that where you've had to leave and come back in? Let's give it, if you guys could each, at least the two of you, give it one more try. And if it doesn't work, I'll just send you the studio link instead of the call in. Sure be nice if that call in worked. So in the meantime,
powered by Riverside FM.
Dude, I swear Geezer Geeks are unreal. They're my go-to. They're killing it.
That's right, they are. They do it, and they do it hard. No go, tried 2 servers, Fox, Brave. Okay. No go. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat. Invite. Wait a minute. Copy link. There we go. Thank you very much. All right, let's give this a shot. See if this does anything different. I actually want to move this over here. Yeah, it's much better. Thank you very much. Okay. Try that link I just put in the chat, Jim, if you can hear me out there. And Jason, if you're joining, that link in the YouTube chat is the one to join. So I hope you'd find it and click on it. Oh my God. We got one
Something
part
worked.
of it works. That one worked.
Yay.
It says you have Riverside open in other tabs on your end.
Really?
That's what it says. Oh, look, Jim Goodall's joining. So if you have another Riverside tab, just make sure the only one you have open is the studio one. It might be the link that you were trying to do on the call-in.
I can come back.
Okay.
I've got them all closed.
Holy
Ta-da!
shit, look at that. Look at that. There's other human beings that are fooling around on the planet besides me.
I'm coming back.
Okay. Can you hear Jim?
I'm here.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Your volume's real low.
Volume's real low. That must be. Let's see. Hold on.
And I'm getting feedback somewhere.
All
right.
Are you using your regular headset?
Me? Yeah.
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 Because it's showing that you're using the FaceTime camera, your Samsung Q2U microphone, and your headphones.
Yep.
You're using the built-in headphones.
No, this thing right here.
That's the one you've got there. Yeah. Okay. All right. But you can hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Yes? No?
Yeah.
Let me
Can
give
you
it
hear me
just a
okay?
little more. I'm going to goose it a little bit more.
Oh,
I
that's
like being goosed.
much better. Much better.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about, turning the knob up, that as a musician, right?
Right.
You know that it says 10, but you're going to get that son of a bitch to 11.
Well, it's like Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to turn my lights
Let's
on here.
see.
Ta-da.
So we have Jim Goodall in the house. Everyone, Jim Goodall.
How's it going? Oh, by
Right.
the way, you still need to send my T-shirt and my
There we go, Jim Goodall. All right. What was that, Jim?
yeah.
The audience is going wild that you're here.
Yeah, you need to send me the stuff I left at your house last time I was there.
Oh, that stuff that, oh shit, you know what? I forgot about that, and I've got a bucket they turned into house rags. I'm sorry. I didn't
I know where you.
I forgot about that.
I know where you live. Yeah.
All right, so this seems to be working so far, and oh yeah, we've got Karen McDonald is in the house, right? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. So I wasn't planning on doing anything, and then I sat here and was playing around with stuff, and I said, "Yeah, let's see if it works." They've got a new scheduling thing. They've got the live call-in, which that's the link we tried, and clearly
Right.
that has still got some issues. But I actually called in to myself on my own show using it. When I tested it, I went, "Holy shit, I'm live with myself."
It's about time, huh?
Did you have a
Right.
great conversation?
It was stimulating.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was like, holy shit. Now what do you do when you're seeing two of you and you're both talking at the same time? It's like, well, that's kind of the way it is in my head. I can feel that, right?
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Jim and Karen, you guys have met before, right? Do you know each other? Have you met before?
Well, I
No.
know of. I mean, just because I've been in the chat room, it's the first time we've actually been together face to face talking.
So Karen, Jim,
Facebook.
Karen.
Greetings.
Greetings. How are you?
I'm doing good. We had very, very cold weather here in Tucson today. It only got to 61.
I've got a wicked storm here brewing right now. There's some weird wave thing happening, and we'll see what happens.
What state? Where's home for you?
My mother's land, it's in the Sinaiac Territory, so you know it as British Columbia, but it's north
Oh,
of the Nelson, British Columbia,
Okay.
in the Kootenays.
Okay. I've done something that most Canadians have never done.
What?
I've been to every territory and province in the country of Canada.
Have you? I haven't even been there.
You mean the state of Canada, Jim? Did you say state or country?
Oh, you're thinking the 51st thing again. Don't rub it in.
Yeah, but no, that's going to be Alberta, and then British Columbia will be the 52nd, and then
I
Saskatchewan
was-
will be the 53rd, and
Well, I was talking to Karen the other day, and I said, why doesn't just Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, and throw in the Yukon? Nobody's up there. Nobody cares, and I'm sure we could
I've
find some
been
way to
there.
exploit it. And all of it just grouped together and just become the 51st, and that way we've got everything from, the Baja or Southern California all the way up to Alaska.
to the
And
North
do
Pole.
you realize how much awesomeness is there that could be utilized for the benefit of humanity? It's amazing up there.
It's amazing. And then we're just like, a couple miles from the tip of Russia, hey?
Right? And you know what? In the future, Russia's going to be, I think, it'll become one of our most important trading partners.
I
Actually,
think
this
so
is
too.
all-
I agree with that as well.
I think there's absolutely, not only is all of the bullshit, in my opinion, about Russia, between Russia and everything that, that everybody's gotten all wound up about. All of that shit's manufactured. And
Totally.
what's really blows my mind is that the science and the tech, the minds of the Russian inventors and innovators, the Kozyrevs, these guys came up, and I mean the Caucasus Range, and all of those civilizations and cultures back then came up with some amazing shit. They're way ahead on a number of different science fronts, but in particular in health. I mean, some of the healing and the modalities that they use over there are just mind-bendingly awesome. And so, my point is that there's more that we can share and collaborate with and get together and make the most of than there is to fight about. In fact, the fact that there's so much of the good shit is the reason we shouldn't be fighting about anything. We should be collaborating, right? Am I missing something,
Some
or
people
what?
just like to fight.
Exactly.
disagree.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
there's that. But I think those people have kind of are on their way out. I think they got their asses handed to them recently, and they're getting daily spankings, and a lot of their spankings are spanking themselves, which is highly entertaining. It's like, how many times can your group go in and pick a fight with another part of the group and just start wailing on each other? It's like, okay, more of that, please. Yes. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch everything flip over. But you know, when we look at the Tartarian and bull shift maps, right? It was all one anyway. So I don't know why everyone's getting so upset. We're just putting things back together like a puzzle piece. So you know, it's got to be done anyway.
Well, it has to be done because there wasn't any choice. I mean, it's interesting that you think of all of the narratives about the collapses of civilizations and man destroying themselves, and you know, whether it's self-inflicted or it's some cosmic we can't do shit about, here it comes, you're done. You know, comets and the cosmos doesn't care about your feelings or what you're doing or what you're even thinking. It's not participating directly in your existence. It's allowing you to participate in its.
Yeah. Well, you think of all the
So-
eco villages we can make now. I'm getting geared up for the eco villages.
You mean on the when British Columbia and Alberta become part of the United States?
Well, when we all become, part of the motherland,
When
we might
when
allow
we
you
get
in
back-
our. We'll let you in the Bear Clan territory.
Oh, JP is in the house. Let's see. There he be, JP in the house. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how's it going? Hey,
Well,
is
we
that
are-
ceiling fan like distracting or annoying for you guys? I don't want to.
I'm starting
I
to
can
go
move.
like this now. We're gonna have
All
to
right.
take camera readjustment.
I'll
It's
move.
actually not. It's actually not too bad, but you know, Jim and I have already imbibed, so it's kind of cool to us.
I'll
Just a
just switch
tad
to the other side of the table. There we go. That's probably better.
But you can
So,
I can still see you though.
Yeah, yeah, we can still see you, Jason. So you might want to. We'll make a few more adjustments, but
Sorry.
Jason, I'd like to. I think you've actually been on one or two of the shows, but I'd
Yeah.
like to welcome Jason JP to the show. I mean, thank you very much. It's nice. It's nice to be had, isn't it, Jason? I think you
It
said
is.
that before.
It is. It
Yeah.
definitely is.
And Jason, I don't know if you know Karen and Jim, but Karen and Jim, Jason, JP.
Jim and I have talked. And I'm sorry, your name, ma'am?
Don't have one. You're doing just fine.
Karen.
You can call me Karen now.
Yeah,
Oh,
Karen
there,
Ann.
there it is down at the bottom. Now I can read the whole thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have not met her. So good to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too. likewise.
So how's life treating you? Are you enjoying the show?
Yes and no. Um, so, and by enjoying the show, I'm sure you're referring to all of the wonderful politics and all of the geopolitics and things like that going on.
I'm basically, to me, it's just the cultural cacophony of crap in the craniums and watching it
is.
spill out everywhere.
It is, in certain regards, I am enjoying it because it's nice to see the level of deep diving going on and like people actually trying to, do things that make sense, especially with like the federal government and looking at budgets and all of that. It has also left me for the last month in a mild state of existential terror, because I'm a federal employee. I work for the Air Force, and so it's like, looking at government shutdowns, then potential furlough, then potential RIF, and while I have,
What are your 5 points from last week? What did you accomplish this
my 5 points from last week. Well, I haven't written those down for last week, but the ones that I sent in last week, my number one bullet point was maintaining an archive and repository consisting of over 2,000 cubic feet or 2,065 linear feet of Cyberspace Security Center annual histories, source documents, personal records, and files and notes of just about every general officer, colonel, etc., who has run the organization since 1943 when it first came into existence as the Army Airways Communication System. Maintaining a plethora of manuals and other source documents, photographs, videos, microfiche, microfilm, audio recordings, all of that. So basically, maintaining accountability of and managing all of our stuff was my number one bullet. And then, in no particular order after that, we just went through a major renovation in the history and curator office, where we have expanded our organizational capabilities in there. We got all new shelving systems, space saver shelving systems. So keeping things sorted and being able to access and reference all of the source documents for people who have requests for information, all that.
Jason.
Yeah.
So Jason, does that mean that basically? Well, so let me ask you what that means. Is
Okay.
one part of that just a regular routine of just having to go through, organize, and keep things organized and cleaned? And is there another part of it where there's a new sense of alacrity and awareness of having things organized and so forth that's added to the work that's being done?
Of course. I mean, if you're able to keep things better organized, you're better able to get to the information and more efficiently and effectively.
You have better, more effective CYA.
Yeah, you can put it that way. And just the other bullet points were all things related to continuing to produce an annual history report for the center. So that way we're, maintaining a log of everything that the center is doing, the things that we're working on, how we're contributing to the fight and to the force and all of that. So that we have, future leaders, commanders, etc., have informational reach back capability. So you're not constantly having to reinvent the wheel. You can look at problem solving that we've done in the past with various things and lessons learned.
You and I were. Go ahead, Jim.
What you were just mentioning, I was the wing historian, Air Force, for 16 years.
Yeah, and when you were doing it, you were probably enlisted, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. That all converted over to civilian positions. I want to say sometime in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, because I was.
And you probably had a couple other people in the office with you, working on all of that too, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. One deep. I'm one deep.
Yeah.
So they're asking they ask the Air Force asks its historians at the wing and center level or FOA level, field operating agency level, to do the work of 3 to 4 people with one dude or dudette. So it's like I don't know how much more Department of Efficiency cutbacks you can get without completely tanking the program. So
And,
Well,
and
I was going to say, Jason, you and I talked a while back about some AI tools and different
Yeah.
things because specifically because of the task that you're working on.
yes,
And
yes.
the whole idea of having something that's designed to figure out a task at most efficient execution is what these
Right.
things are, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got a massive amount of data that needs to be indexed, which is all these large language models
82
are, just-
years worth
right?
of data.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've got some serious.
That's not
data.
including the pre 1943 data that we have when Army Airways communication system was all kind of a gleam in the eye of guys like Hap Arnold and stuff like that, and other players within the Army Air Forces at that time. Because in 1938 they figured out I think it was Hap Arnold got a flight of 10. It was either B-10s or B-18 Bolos, and flew from I think they flew from outside of DC up to Alaska, and trying to show and demonstrate that, like, look, hey, we can project power, we can get things up there quickly. It took them like 10 days, I think, to get up there. But when you look at 1938 technology and capabilities, that was lightning fast. And the
Well,
whole way
speaking of lightning fast, hold that thought. We have another guest, Mr. Clay Lacombe from
my
Conspiracy Music, is joining tonight. Let's see. He's almost in. How many times have you heard that, gentlemen?
are you in yet?
It's almost in.
Is my audio
more
working?
than I like to admit. No.
Well, that is that the precursor, or after is it in?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
That's
And,
the precursor.
And JP, in addition to my 16 years as
Mm-hmm.
an Air Force historian, I was also a curator at the Pacific Aviation Museum in Pearl Harbor.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I was there for its 10th anniversary.
Okay,
About 2/3 of the airplanes that they have there, I brought in.
that's amazing. Did you do any work with Swamp Ghost? Were you
Yeah.
there when they pulled? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
They-
amazing.
And the thing that's a problem is Hawaii is one of the most corrosive places on the planet. I had
Yeah.
stainless steel parts on my Harley rust within 90 days of arriving in
Right.
Honolulu.
Yeah, just all the salt air
And
and the humidity.
yeah, and the humidity's not too bad. Only in August when the trades aren't blowing.
Yeah.
Swamp Ghost, I've been, you almost can't touch it. It's so fragile.
Hmm.
And they were going to build a diorama and have it simulated swamp. And
Yeah.
Burl, who was my replacement, decided to die on them. So that part never went very far.
Hey, Jim, could you just hold on to that swamp gas for just a second? I want to try to figure out what's going on with Clay here. Clay's, we see a blank screen. We hear nada, but
Can
we
you
see your
hear me when I
nada.
talk?
Oh, we can
I
hear
can
you
hear
now.
Yeah, I'm
We got
in the-
audio.
I'm in the settings right now, and it won't let me do anything. I can't change my audio settings. I can't change my speakers. I can't change my camera. Nothing.
Go
Well,
out-
for audio, we've got you
Wow.
5x5.
It's just
Yeah,
a spinning
got audio.
circle back here.
Well, try leaving and coming back in. That seems to.
Yeah, let me try
Reset
that.
it.
It
again.
even, you
Or
know,
just
Jim,
leaving.
and that's what
Jesus,
we
Jim.
tell. That's what we tell Goodall all the time. Just
Yeah.
leave, Jim. You know.
Right.
Hey, Jim, could you do me a favor? Is your mic the thing that's hanging off your head there on the wire? Is the
No.
mic that's on your chest?
No.
Where's the mic? Can you get it any closer?
Yeah, you're coming in faint.
Okay, how about now?
It's about
That's a little bit better. A little better. Have
Marginally.
you got where's your volume? Have you got any headroom on that thing?
No.
I know
I
I,
mean,
shouldn't
it's-
ask that question.
It's the same setting it's always been.
Well, now you sound better.
Well, I'm talking louder.
Well, see, there's a secret to all this shit.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Clay's trying to come and land on the perch again. Let's see what happens. Oh, blink, blink.
Yeah.
We got a
Same
blink.
thing. It's not letting me access my camera at all.
Are you going through OBS or?
Yeah. Yeah, no, my normal setup.
Well, that's bizarre and otherwise.
And no webcam?
Well, he's using a separate software that does his background and his camera. It manages all the devices. Then that's going into Riverside.
Yeah.
Try going direct without OBS and see what happens.
Hey, Prof, you want to see how much of a nerd I am
Oh, please, that's what I'm talking about.
with the history stuff? That is my 1962 General Electric Americana Series
Retro.
670 range and oven.
Dude, that will outlive you.
Oh yeah. Hold on, wait.
That is awesome.
Where's home, by the way? JP?
St. Louis.
Oh, okay. I feel sorry.
Yeah.
For you.
And wait, there's more. My 1953
Yes.
Oh my God.
and
Oh, it's got the handle. Oh my God, the pull handle.
it works. I've just I've got to get it into my kitchen. I have a massive refrigerator in there, and I can only get it out the front door because it's that big. So I have to figure out how I'm going to shuffle that around so I can get my 53 fridge into the kitchen in place of the big fridge.
Dude, that is just seriously awesome.
$1,100 for the pair. Got them from the same people.
Really.
And they look
own
like
them?
they're in like original, pristine kind of condition.
They have been the enamels they've been re-enameled. They've been resprayed to match. But all of the trim, all the chrome, all of that stuff, it's all original. Like
Nice.
the inside of this oven is stupidly clean.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
That's serious.
I mean, like, what? This thing's
Dude.
how old? And it looks that good.
Are you going to use that? Are you going to
I
make a
use
mess
it.
in
Yeah,
there?
I
Yeah?
use it every day, man.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, the only issue I am having with the stove right now is that the front right burner, which is a larger burner, is it's what they call the SensiTemp system. And there's a little sensor in the center of the burner, and you can adjust the temperature to which that burner will get, but there's also selections for how much of the diameter of the burner is utilized. So you can put larger and smaller, pots and pans and whatever on it. There's something wrong with the sensor, so I can't get it to properly regulate temperature. So I'm going to have to source a new old stock part from somewhere and
Is it
swap that
gas?
out.
Is it gas or electric?
Electric.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But other than that, it works flawlessly. Oven runs a little hot, but it's nothing that can't be compensated for. I've got a temperature, I've got a thermometer in there, so I can monitor. And
So what have you made?
efficient.
What have you made in there? And did it taste like it did when you had it from one of those the first time?
So the oven, I have made several meatloafs.
Oh,
That's the problem.
And well, I'm also doing the carnivore diet, and so it's like trying to find things that I can, make and whatnot, and throw some variation other than just fucking steak all the time. And
yeah. Have you
know.
baked any bread or done any pies or any of that?
No, I haven't done any of that because I'm basically like zero carbing it.
There you go.
And so,
Nice.
like, do I want to bake bread and pie in there? Yes, I want to bake the fuck out of a pie in there, but
So you're trying to lose
I
weight?
can't because I'm trying to fit into all my vintage clothes for the Viva Las Vegas Rockabilly Weekender in April. And right now it's fat guy in a little coat. So yeah, I gotta,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you got to cut back on the pies in the pie hole.
Yeah. Well, I
Tell you
lost.
what though, after
yeah.
Viva though, man, after Viva in April, at the end of April, when I get home, I may bake a pie or a cobbler and just eat the whole fucking thing while watching Leave It to Beaver in the living room.
So what is this Viva thing in Vegas? I don't know about this.
Oh, okay. So the Viva Las Vegas Rockabilly Weekender, it's been going on for, I think this is its 28th year, 29th year, 28th year. So it is a massive 4-day rockabilly festival. They take over the Orleans casino and hotel. I think it's on Tropicana. It's on an old kind of not like old section of town, but an older section of town.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like over 100 bands that show up. They have a massive car show on Saturday that, like, I've seen it be well over 600 cars.
Wow.
Coming from all over the country. And they get some pretty big headliners for the car show concert that they area concert that they do on Saturday. Like the first year that I went in 2018, the Stray Cats got back together.
Wow.
At that show, like they were going to get back together and doing and start doing some albums again, and they played that show as we're getting back together to do more albums show. And who opened for the Stray Cats?
Elvis.
None other than the killer himself, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Dude was 92 years old, tickling the ivories, and he sounded great.
Well, I think
That is awesome.
I think his grandson. He was a special here a couple 3 or 4 weeks ago,
Mm.
and Jerry Lee was there, and I don't know when it was filmed.
Yeah.
His grandson got up to the piano and started playing, and they sound just like Jerry
him.
Lee Lewis. Yeah.
Just hopefully he doesn't have all of Jerry Lee's interesting habits.
Yeah, 14-year-old wives,
I was gonna say
13 or whatever.
pedophile thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were. I think she was 13 when they got married, and his cousin. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
like whoa,
Yeah, well,
right?
no one's-
Okay,
no one's
different
perfect.
time,
No one's
different time.
Yeah.
We've advanced beyond then. We've gotten better about that as a society.
When you were talking about Viva Las Vegas, it reminds me, my very first concert I ever went to was Elvis Presley,
Oh, nice.
and it was his very first concert in San Francisco. It was February 1957, and
Wow.
he sang every song that he had recorded twice.
Yeah.
And my dad was pissing and moaning about how expensive the tickets were. Now this is 1957.
Yeah.
They were $7,
Just-
not 700 or 7,000. They were
Seven.
seven. Even adjusted
But-
for inflation, it was still. And we were
Right.
only about 40 feet from the stage, and we were elevated. It was the San Francisco Civic Auditorium,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
and it was incredible. And
Oh,
my
I
mom-
bet.
I was there with
bet.
my mom, my Aunt Mary, and my cousin Cookie, and it was all women, and they were
Mm-hmm.
just going crazy over Elvis the
Yeah.
Elvis, and it was,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was wonderful. And I saw him in Vegas twice also. After,
Oh, that's
after
cool.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, so Christmas when I went down to Birmingham to see my folks, there's a stretch that I got on of Highway 45, and it's called the Rockabilly Highway.
Oh.
And along that stretch of 45, guys like, Carl Perkins, Elvis Presley, a few of the other guys that they ran around with and recorded at Sun with and stuff like that. They ran up and down that stretch of 45, hitting all the towns, doing all their shows. So there's like all these little monuments and little placards and stuff along the way. And in various towns, they have murals and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I just
Well,
I look back. I hit 80 this month, so I've been on the planet a long time, even longer than that old guy next to me, Robert. Yeah,
yeah, you got a few orbits on me, that's for sure.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and
Got a few orbits on all of us.
Yeah.
and
Hey, but
and you, as you know, Jim, it's about the mileage. There's a lot of people that have had multiple orbits ain't gone very far.
nope.
Yeah.
They haven't
What,
seen
Stu?
much. They kind of got stuck on the couch eating Cheetos, and they don't get far. But some of us have been fortunate enough to be all over the planet and
Yeah.
seen a whole bunch of shit that if you didn't see it, you wouldn't know it, and if
I
you
mean-
didn't
Right.
know it, you wouldn't be able to
It's,
recognize it the next time you see it, and especially for the things that you really enjoy, because the things you really enjoy are the shit you want to go back and do more of. Am I
Yeah.
right?
And so, but
It's,
so many of my friends that I used to go do crazy shit with, they're dead. I mean, like I say, I turned 80 in in 20 days. Actually, 19.
Well, happy
So,
birthday if I don't see you before then or
Yeah.
on then.
Yeah, for my age, I feel great.
That's good.
I,
Yeah,
I'm healthy.
I think there's something about Jim that makes it enjoyable to watch somebody progress so far along down the road of the orbitage.
Yeah.
Because you look at him and you go, I think this guy's probably got some kind of secret shit that we need to kind of see if we can get out of him to figure out how the hell we can do the same thing. Right?
Yep. Yeah. No,
Right, Jim?
I know when to live to be at least 105. I've felt that in my dreams and in my head as long as I can remember. And on my mom's side of the family, she's 100% Sicilian, and they were fishermen. You were either a hitman or you were a fisherman, one of the two. And there's 7 male members of my mom's family on both sides, her dad and her mom. Males lived to between 103 and 107. And Nanu, who was 107, I mean, he was born in 1850 something.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's mind blowing.
yeah.
Right.
And no,
Well,
I feel blessed.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's
Well,
one of those things.
something is definitely watching over your ass because
Right.
there's nobody.
shit.
There's nobody that would. Somebody. It's got to be divine because nobody on the planet would sign up for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The interesting thing with all of that, though, the thing that I always find so interesting or fascinating about it is
Yeah. They're
what
right.
has
Yeah.
been
Plain.
what has been seen and experienced
Fucking
by,
thing.
by people that fall in that category. Like I remember my great grandmother, she passed at 92, but she grew up all through the Depression. Like she was born just after World War I think. No, actually, let's see. I'm trying to think of what year she passed, but I think she was alive. I think when the Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
You know, saw World War I, saw the Great Depression, saw World War II, man walk on the moon, like all of it. Computers going from the size of a house to something that fits on your desk, you know, like all of these just insane leaps in technology, all of the insane changes in society. To have experienced all of that is fascinating, you
I
know,
mean,
like
yeah, I've had people, how do you know these people? I said, because I've been around forever.
You know what
s-
was
I-
interesting? I was just going to share. This week I got to spend a couple hours with Dr. Richard Allen Miller, and I spent, just did actually 2 shows with Rick. And there's something that you guys have, that joie de vivre, that you've got innately within you. It's just like it just bubbles with enthusiasm. Like he's like, I got to get to Winnebago and come up to where you are, and we're gonna do all this stuff in the Okanagan. And I said, well, we should look at this like Kootenai thing here now too, right? Because I got all the hot tubs. They don't have any. We got the hot springs up here. But it's something, Jim, that you see. It's not just the wisdom, but it's the attitude of gratitude. And like, he was bubbling all over the place. I had to just say, here, can we just go through each one of your books, and that will be your curriculum vitae just to keep you focused. And it worked great.
I have
But,
29 books in print.
Jesus.
Yeah.
that you should. These guys have got like just, I mean, a huge plethora behind you guys.
I mean, one of the funny things. This is 1996. It's
Yeah.
June. I'm with John Lear,
Yeah, I know, John.
and I knew John for
did.
45 years. Yeah. He looked so bad. He looked like Jabba the Hutt just before he passed.
Yeah.
And I called him up, and I said, I said, I understand there's something flying out of Tonopah again. We got to go up there and take a look. So John and I headed up there, and we're at the fence line. We're about 2 miles in. We're in public lands, and we have our lawn chairs. We've taped up our pant legs so the scorpions can't go up your legs, and we have
Yeah, it's the little ones you got to watch out for.
yeah, Generation. We have those here in Tucson. Generation 1 night vision, and we see 3 armored personnel carriers coming up. One from the south, from the west, and one from the east.
Gen 1 night vision. Jesus.
I mean, we can see.
Here it comes.
Yeah. So I yelled out, "Hey, we're good guys. We're taxpayers!" And all of a sudden, we had floodlights on us. John had 3 little red dots in his chest. I had 3 little red dots on my chest, and some guys coming down the public land side, parked behind John's pickup truck, and he had an Area 51 visitor's pass on the rear bumper and the front bumper of his pickup truck. Comes around, he has his hand on his 9mm. He's in Desert Utilities. He says, "You're in a restricted area, and I'm ordering you to leave." And I said, "Sir, I don't know who you are." He says, "Public lands, and I don't need your permission to be here." I said, "You're in a restricted area, and I'm ordering you to leave." And I pulled out my aeronautical map. I had conveniently in my back pocket. I said, "According to
You knew what you were doing.
Oh, fuck yeah. I
You
said,
kept the regulation in your back pocket when you were in, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So did I.
Yeah, so I said, well, according to this official government map that gives the longitude and latitude to the second of the restricted areas, I'm in public lands. And if you look at the base of that fence post over there, you'll see a USGS medallion that gives the longitude and latitude to the second. And you know what? I can be here for 15 consecutive days without asking anybody's permission. I want to see some ID. I said, "Well, who are you?" He said, "Well, I'm Captain So-and-so with ASI, Advanced Security, Inc." I said, "Sir, you're rent-a-cop. You don't have jurisdiction on this side of the fence." And you could just see his jaws just tighten up. And John hasn't said a word. He's just sitting there. He says, "I want to see some ID." And I said, "Well, who are you?" "Well, I'm Captain So-and-so with ASI." And they said, "Well, good for you." And finally, I said, "I tell you what, you show me yours, I'll show you mine." So he hands me his ASI badge. And I said, "Sir, this is not a valid form of ID." I gave it back to him, and he's something issued by the state or federal government. very begrudgingly, he pulls out his driver's license. I didn't want to show my military ID, so I just gave him my Minnesota license. John had his and handed it to him. Now I am hearing impaired. I don't hear it out at all in one ear, and the other ear have a very narrow range. But so the guy takes our IDs, hands it to a guy on the south side of the fence. He goes to the supervisor's armored personnel carrier. The guy turns his light on, and I hear, "Oh shit, it's Goodall and Lear." The lights went off, the red dots went away. They knew they weren't going to intimidate us.
Oh shit! It's good all in Lear. Jesus.
Well, hey, I had that at the Skunk Works.
Yeah.
I scrounged a blackbird for the Minnesota Air Guard Museum,
Yeah.
and I was told that if I went to Palmdale, Lanny Jenkins would give me a tour of where we're going to take apart the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So I go into security. It's outside the fence, and there's nobody there, but I can hear people. The door's open, and there's people back there making noise. And I hit the buzzer. I said, "Who's there?" He said, "Jim Goodall." The Jim Goodall? I said, "Well, there's a total of 5 of us, but I'm probably the one. 2 of them are dead. My grandfather and my dad. And my son is, at the time he was, 26. And I have a grandson who was, I think 7 or 8. So, but I'm probably the one." And this woman walks around, her name is Glenna Farley, and she says, "You're not the 800-pound gorilla you've been made everybody believe you are." I said, "What do you mean?" She says,
Jane Goodall.
I have been, she said, "I've been in security at the Skunk Works for 21 years. I heard your name the week I hired on, and I've heard your name about once a quarter for the last 20 plus years." I said, "Well, probably because I talked to Ben Rich about once a quarter for the last 20 plus years. And he was the president of the Skunk Works after Kelly Johnson died. And
Yeah.
he's the reason we got a blackbird in Minneapolis. He called me at home. He said, "Hey, they're not going to make it through Congress, and if anybody can scrounge one, it's you."
Yeah.
Ta-da, an idea. I'm the scroungingest NCO in the United States military. I scrounged 2 C5s and a $130 million blackbird. Ta-da! and people say, "Well, how can you do that?" I said, "I've been around so long. I did stuff before they made rules against it."
Right. Yeah.
You could not, an NCO or even an officer today couldn't scrounge 2 C5s and 24 crew members on just some boondoggle.
Right.
I did. When Pratt and Whitney wanted to lease a C5, because they were trying to get a Blackbird as well, and they were going to move. Air Force said, "Yeah, we'll lease you one. It's $967,000 a day. It's gas." I had 2 C5s for 8 days apiece.
Jesus.
So Sergeant Bilko had nothing on me.
So yeah, hey, Professor, if you want to know why we're going through all of these financial reviews and the Pentagon can't pass an audit, that it's Jim. That's why with the boondoggling a couple of C5 Galaxies at $900-something-thousand a day operational costs.
I'm sure Goodall's shenanigans probably rack up $1 billion or $2 billion in the waste and fraud department.
When I was spending a lot of time out in the desert, in and around Area 51,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe I probably cost, in canceled flight tests, probably $5 to $10 million worth of costs incurred.
Cool. So yeah, Jim, thanks for having my job on the line. I really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, they deserved it.
You still have an email to do. I heard about that tonight.
Yeah. I said, it's what I do. I mean,
It's what I do.
Well, Jim, I
No,
think I
God.
think that there's probably you could make a good case for submitting your application to Elon and the Doge Boys as one who's
Oh,
knows the system and could maybe help ferret out the foolishness and the fuckery,
I
and
tell you what. I tell
they'd
you what.
probably pay you handsomely for it too.
Put me in a room with Elon Musk, Pete Hegseth, and the Doge Boys, and I tell you right here and now, I could knock out one of the biggest problems in terms of Defense Department spending that's causing all these issues. And I will tell you right here now, it is the supply side and procurement side of things. I remember sitting in Iraq, 0708. We had to do we had to go line by line through all of our bench stock and shop stock. So all the little nuts, bolts, fasteners, washers, various little tiny components that are just consumed throughout the servicing equipment and things like that. We had to go line by line and figure out, hey, do we need to keep this on the shop stock, bench stock, or can we get rid of this? Is this something that's pertinent to a system that we're still working on? All of that. We're doing this review in the middle of a combat zone. And, I'm going to throw out round numbers because I can't remember the exact things because I've slept since then. But it's, on one page you're sitting there and you'll see, 10 millimeter, whatever pitch thread, stainless steel, grade 8 fastener, right? So bolt, right? 53 cents. 3 pages later, 10 millimeter, same pitch thread, thread pitch size, grade 8 stainless steel bolt, but there's like an A on the end of the NSN, meaning that it's aviation grade. $1.80. And it's like, hold on, wait a minute. You're telling me because somebody went to the FAA and gave them a blowjob under the table or whatever the fuck they do, gets a bolt certified, that's a grade 8 stainless steel bolt, that's the same fucking grade 8 stainless steel bolt that cost 53 cents, and now because it's aviation and it got an inspection, it's $1.50. No. I'm a mechanic. I know how this shit works. It's the same goddamn thing.
So are you saying that there's a fair amount of that going on?
Yes. There is
Yeah.
so much of that kind of stuff that goes on. And you have so many items within the system that it's like impossible to keep track of anything. And then you look at like, and Jim might be able to talk to this as well, or at least know what I'm getting at. So GSA, right? Everything that we have to order for the military has to be made in the USA, come from a USA supplier, all of that stuff. There's laws and regulations around this, right? So what happens is it's like you have GSA, which is government something agency, right? Supply or something.
Government shit
Right.
agency? Yeah.
Yeah. So GSA ends up basically being this sole source of supply for like everything. So like if I have to get a laptop, okay, let me get a standard run-of-the-mill Hewlett-Packard, I can do my everyday work that I need to do, nothing fancy, laptop, right? I go to Best Buy and I can pick that thing up for $800. I go through GSA, it's $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. Like they have your nuts in a vice because you can only order from them so they can crank it up, and it's like that with so many things. You hear the legends and the rumors about like, oh yeah, they paid $600 for a toilet seat. Yeah, kind of.
yeah.
Like it's highway friggin' robbery. And it's like, that's where you need to start looking. Like for a lot of these, look, black programs, like all those kinds of things that nobody needs to talk about in public. And quite frankly, I don't want to be in the room while we're talking about it because I want to have as much plausible deniability as I humanly possibly can, right? Those necessary things that happen. I'm not worried about those budgets. I'm worried about the bullshit budgets where you're paying 3 times the price for the same goddamn bolt.
Yeah,
But it's been
was,
aviation certified.
I was talking to some Blackbird buddies of mine. My area of
Yeah.
expertise is the Blackbird.
Mm-hmm.
And starting as a E3 or an E4, he was he was a grunt. He'd have a pocket full. He'd go home, throw those things away.
Right.
Then he gets promoted to be an NCO, and now he he has to maintain a balance sheet for his maintenance shop.
Yeah.
So now these are very, very special screws. They go in the turkey feathers of the exhaust ejector of the Blackbird. Temperature there is about 3,200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Did
They're
you say
probably made out of
something about?
titanium.
Did you
Pardon?
say something about a special screw?
Yes. No, I'm not talking. No.
Okay. All right. Just
So,
checking. Okay. Go ahead.
He's thrown this. So now he has cost accountability. He has to deal with. And those little screws that he's probably thrown away, 10,000 of them, they're $18 a piece.
Yeah.
And the materials to make the thing, they can trace it all the way back to the mine that the raw
Okay.
materials came out on the week that it came out or the day it was
Right.
processed.
Like a batch
That's-
number.
That's
Yeah.
bullshit. That's for a screw. I mean, the screw's this big.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, what gets even
So-
worse is
so
when you have.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was gonna say what's even worse is when you have like a special fastener, right? And the fastener costs $5, but you can only buy them in groups of 100 at a time. You can't I need to order 5 of these bolts. No, I have to order 100 of these bolts, and I'm only going to use 5. And then I can't return the other 95, or I can't do whatever else with the other 95. There's all kinds of weird, goofy things like that. You're like, are you really? And you
Well,
wonder where the money goes.
Well,
like buying-
there's
buying-
a lot of that. A lot of that is planned, intended obfuscation, right?
Yeah.
So that's built in so that there's plenty of plenty of things that can't be seen where shit can be hid and gotten to whenever they want, and
Right.
and so it's a part of the system. But my question, because a lot of this, in my opinion, and Jason, you and I were talking about this. We were talking about the AI to do that project, that task.
Yeah.
How much clearly what you're talking about is to me it's more a systemic or systematic problem, because there's the why is it 100? Is it because that's the way it's manufactured? Why is it manufactured that way? All those
Right.
things, the restrictions that are placed on each part of that item of
Yeah.
commerce, right? So
Right.
so there's something's been jacked in the system.
Mhm.
But, and that's all over the place. And a
Yeah.
lot of it has been, added on over decades with God knows how many different people with who knows what agendas just
Oh, yeah.
piling on. But how much of it do you think is people? How much of the human resources that are involved in managing all these processes, how much
Mhm.
of that is redundant or bloated and or unnecessary?
Well, and that's, you know what? Honestly, that's a tough one to answer, right? So, we've had to deal with this problem for a while now. The Air Force has had to deal with it for a while now, for sure. And since I'm working for them, so that's perspective I'm kind of talking from.
Well, and help me understand why you think it's a tough one to answer. What makes it tough?
Well, and that's the thing is so organizations like the Air Force and the Marine Corps have consistently over time been asked to do more and more with less
People?
people. And so
'Cause
when you start,
it sounds like there's no short of abundance on all of these extra shit that is unnecessary, and you have way too many of that you don't need, right?
Mm.
It's not a supply from a you're not lacking for stuff. You're
Right.
lacking for the right stuff at the right time, basically just in time supply chain kind of Kanban kind of model
Right, but
of
here's the
replenishment. But
problem, and Jim may disagree with me on this one, or he may agree with me on this one. The problem, the problem with it, and I'm saying this from somebody who just came out of 20 years of GWAT, right? Global War on Terror, like having been deployed, forward deployed, dealing with all these things, right?
wait. I'm sorry. Did you say GY or KY?
GWAT.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Golf Whiskey Oscar Tango. GWAT.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. The just-in-time supply kind of thing is not conducive in combat. If you're running combat operations, you need to stockpile shit. You need to be able to have, like, so being a maintainer, we could reach back if we blew up an engine in an MRAP, we could order a whole power pack and it would come in a spam can. And we'd open up the can, we'd pull an engine and a transmission out of that, and we could slap that into that truck and put it back out, running route clearance operations, doing whatever. And then we'd take that busted motor and transmission and we'd send it back to depot level maintenance for being to get remanufactured, right? But there would be a stockpile of things. So if you're looking at waging war, just in time stuff is not just in time. It's behind the power curve. Like, and that's one of the things too, where it's like when you're looking at Department of Defense stuff and you're looking at all the branches of service, like, honestly, I kind of want to, if I had the chance, I would look at Trump and Elon and Hegseth and I'd say, get Doge the fuck out of DOD. All right. We are in the business of breaking shit and killing things. This is a totally different thing than the IRS. Go talk to them. The big kids are playing, all right? Like, the adults are in the room or talking. Go do something else, because this is a whole different animal than what you're trying to do. I'm very much of a give the military everything it actually needs,
Yeah,
right?
That's
And
the
have
key.
plenty of it.
Well,
And-
I
and-
completely agree
yeah.
with that. But going back to your
Yeah.
point about the problem with the system that you're in, you're
Yeah.
getting screwed on what you need to buy. You've got one place to go. You have to go
Right.
by their rules. You have no flexibility. You can't save money. In fact, you end up not only spending more than you need to, but you waste a shitload of it because the
Mm-hmm.
system that you're using to keep that military fighting
Right.
and strong and not just in time, you have to be just in case.
Right. Well, and Jim will back me up on this one. At the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, every commander, every higher level, commander is speaking to their lower level commander, who's speaking to the lower level commander below them. Hey, man, you got to spend this shit. Start spending money. Whatever you've got, man. I don't care if you're buying boxes of fucking red rubber erasers and rubber bands. Spend this money,
They want their
because
boxes.
the fear is that if we don't spend the money,
You don't get
we
it
won't
next year.
get
You'll get
that
it
next
next
year.
Well, and that is a system problem.
Right. Yeah.
That is
And-
not
and
that
we
has
can't-
nothing to do with supply and demand, other than the
Right.
intermediary processes are in the way
Yeah.
of making that be efficient.
And the other problem too is like, if we have money left over at the end of the year in the budget, we can't, like, well, let's just shove it over here and into the savings account and we can use some of that next year. And no, we can't do that. We
Does that not-
have to spend it.
Does that not make you, though, like, question, the people above you in the command and say, what the hell am I in here? I mean, I get the whole thing where people get their little fiscal year end and, like, if we don't, spend it, it'll
Yeah.
be lost. But the whole point
Right.
is it's inefficiency. And if that's coming from above, like, I know
Mhm.
when I was a nurse in
Yeah.
the union and an advocate, right? We just chopped them right off. And we didn't have enough stuff, like, whether you want to talk through grievances or whatever processes we used.
Yeah.
We got that stuff eventually addressed, and this is what I see that's not being addressed in your area. You know what I mean?
Well,
And I'm
right.
just
And it's
wondering how
like
that
been
could
this
be
way
corrected.
it's been this way for decades upon decades.
For sure.
Like, there's got to be a smarter way to do these things, and there's got to be a smarter way.
That is why it's exactly and precisely my point when you said
Yeah.
you'd tell Elon and Trump and Musk and everybody Doge to stay
Well,
the fuck
when
out.
I say
I'm going,
stay
no,
out
wait a
of it,
minute.
like,
I'm going,
if
wait
they
a
wanna
minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I would bet you dollars to donuts, a hand grenade to an Uzi,
Yeah.
whatever those things are over there. That if the DOD, if the guys took a look at the code, they would see that it was incredibly well organized and designed to be extremely efficient. And they would look at it and go, that looks like our kind of shit right there. We do organized and efficient.
Right.
And I think they look at it and go, well, if we can unleash this organizing efficient model to go out
Yeah.
to go interrogate our stuff and come back and eliminate some of the bullshit you're talking about,
Right.
because
Well,
it'll
and that's
expose
why-
it and go, hey, you need to fix this.
Let me edit that thought process back there, right? Look at the system.
I knew I'd get you, and I didn't even have to
Right.
say Materium or Ethereum.
You're right, you didn't. Look at the
But he
systems in
put it in
place.
anyway.
Yeah, it's really it's more of a it's not so much a stay completely out of it. It's look at the systems, don't mess with the people. There is this perception that all federal employees are these dirtbags that just waste taxpayer dollars, which
Well,
is
most of them, a lot of them.
I don't
Well,
think
I
there's
think-
a perception that there's all. I think there's the perception that there's a fair
system-
amount. And it's not just in the military, it's fucking everywhere.
well,
Systems are
And
broke.
that's what this
Systems
whole
are broke, but
model
here's what I can say from being a current federal employee, DOD guy, right? I go into
don't
work
fuck
every
with my
day.
job is what you're saying.
Well, there is that aspect of it, but the other thing though is that not speaking from a personal level and worrying about my own, ability to feed myself and do the things that I need to do and take care of. In general, I walk into work every day. I sit down in my little cube farm while our office is being finished getting all of the upgrades and renovation stuff in the history office. Everybody in there is working on a program. Everybody in there is actively doing something to make sure that we have the enterprise IT based things that we provide to the force that allows all these things to run. They are doing work. They are doing their job. They're not like
Are they doing work? Are they doing work and executing a task
yeah.
that could not be improved?
There's always room for improvement on something, right? Like I'm not going to.
If
I'm not
there
going to
is,
say
if that's
Yeah.
the state, and I agree with you, why wouldn't you look at something to see how it could be improved by using
you can do that.
technology that can do it like that?
Right. You can do that, right? And I understand that aspect, but now we're looking at there's been a vilification that has occurred
In what way?
of these people, of these
The,
workers.
the federal workers.
Yes, there's an absolute vilification of the federal worker that has happened. You
Well,
listen
do you
to how
think
everything's said.
any of that is earned or deserved, or do you think it's overblown or it doesn't exist? Or
I think it's overblown.
What level of acceptability do you think it represents?
I think it's overblown. In my 11 years in the Army, actually, dealing with civilians in the Defense Department workforce from that angle, and my 7 years and change working in it from the civilian side, right? I've never run into or the number of people that I have run into who have been like an absolutely worthless government employee, I can count on one hand.
Or had some kind of reputation that preceded them, like Jim
Yeah, like-
Goodall. Right.
But it's like you have
I
people
shouldn't have got this toy, but go ahead.
right. You have people who
Scare me.
are dedicated to the mission.
Yeah.
They're dedicated to serving service members and serving the country, and enabling our forces to do what they have to do to win the wars or win the battles or the things that they're going out to do. They provide immense amounts of continuity, because when you send all your green suiters and blue suiters forward into the combat theater, you have maybe a skeleton crew on rear D. You have all these civilians that have that continuity capability of maintaining the information, understanding of where everything is, understanding how everything works, and keeping all of the systems back here working and functioning.
Oh, okay. I'm
It's-
sorry. I got. I'm sorry. I got to
Yeah.
interrupt because
Of
what
course.
you're giving,
Yeah.
what you're sounding like, is an advocate and an empathetic, from an empathetic perspective of which you have been involved in, which makes total sense, and I appreciate that, and I think that that's
Yeah.
valid. I'm advocating and saying is that the application of going and looking
Accounting.
for and interrogating effectiveness and efficiency
Right.
in all systems has never been available like it is now.
Oh,
It is
no,
now
you're absolutely
something-
right.
It is
You're
now
absolutely right.
something that can be done across anything,
Mhm.
any knowledge domain, any transactional, private, public interaction. It can now all be done so effectively and so safely and so
Right.
integrated and instantly that it's going to
think-
replace naturally all of the systems that are out there today. But the one thing I wanted to ask
Right.
you, your opinion, what's up with this whole enlistment numbers going through the roof all of a sudden? What happened?
Got
I
shot.
think-
Got rid of the asshole that was
I
in charge.
think people, I think people are like, okay, we're gonna have an actual strong leadership that's gonna do something, that's gonna, allow a force to operate how it should. That let it be the military and go do things that it needs to do. I think there's a lot of things with Biden and how they handled everything where it's just like, I don't want to serve for that. I don't want to serve under this kind of thing, this kind of leadership style. And people shied away from that.
It was
You know
it
what's
was-
shocking
it was-
is that people are actually being, and this is from the medical end. I just spent all day at the National Citizens Inquiry, actually the last 3 days solid, because my cousin Sean Buckley is the head lawyer that's responsible for all of those inquiries across Canada, so we can nail their butts. But what gets me, and we've had a lot of vets and people in there actually testifying, but what gets to me is because of those injections, and we'll just keep this because I know you're on YouTube, but why the hell would anyone in their right mind go and enter into any of these fields at this point? Because that is still part of what's on the table. You don't have an exemption yet. And they haven't been honoring any of them. They definitely haven't been for the Canadian military and stuff in the forces up here. So maybe I've got a little slighted, view at it. But what the
Are you
hell
talking
is
about for
going on?
people who were pushed out for the vaccine?
Well, now you might be off like YouTube now, but yeah, like I mean, what you're sitting at is that those are part of the things, and this is the worst thing. Like I've talked with Lieutenant Colonel Teresa Long. You've got people like Lee Merritt. You've got other people that are in the forces or know what the hell's going on.
Mhm.
And when you see these mixed messages, I mean, the first thing they did to basically eradicate and cripple everything was to take you guys out. And I don't
Yeah.
think it's you guys per se. It's the higher ups. It's the people that don't. And then you have to question not only the efficiency, but what kind of cognitive processes are going on. And if I,
Yeah.
as out here, and by the way, I'm a clan mother, so I have a little bit of like stuff of what's going on in there. But what happens in there is that I would assume that should be like top notch space art, whatever. You should be like leading the pack here, not behind, and especially even in the tech for accountability for, what you're getting in and out of supplies. That just blows my mind. And I've heard about the, inefficiency from like the laundry being charged, like instead of $1, it's 20. Like we've all heard those stories.
Yeah.
But that is just bullshit. And I can't believe that things are actually going up and people are enlisting or the USSF or whatever
Well-
the hell Flaggy wants to do now.
Well, to your point about the vaccine, I think that's all been lifted. In fact,
Yeah.
they're
Not
all
here.
of the vets, everybody
Yeah.
in the
Anybody
U.S.
who was
military,
anybody who was
everybody that got
discharged
kicked
because
out,
of it,
they
they've
got
been invited to come
reinstated
back.
and they got back pay
Yeah.
and no more vax.
That part I know, but it was part
Yeah.
still, they're still giving them through They haven't removed them through the forces. They've only done the back pay and then again what you get because, oh, sorry, we'll give you back pay. But they haven't stopped them in the forces. Nowhere. Not even in nursing, not even up in here. It's still part of the
So-
mandate. Your children are still being injected. How the hell? They still got this forces getting injected. And we know the new stuff is
but
in it.
we have the. I mean, are you up in Canada?
Well, some people think it's here, but yeah, they think
Oh,
it's here.
So for here on the U.S. side of things, like now we can refuse that vaccine and not have issues with that.
Because of the Nuremberg Code, they should, everybody should have been able to turn that down.
Right. I think one of the biggest, and I'm saying this one from a personal experience kind of thing. I think one of the biggest things that's going to be really messed up that we're going to see here over the next few years is the executive order that basically, banned transgender folks from being in the service. Now they've come out and they said, hey, look, we're going to give you the ability to voluntarily separate. And if you voluntarily separate by March, 25th, 2025, as long as you've been in long enough to receive separation pay for separating rather than like retiring or whatever, right?
Yep.
The voluntary separation pay will be paid at twice the rate of an involuntary separation pay rate.
You're gonna pay it
And that's really awesome because, especially for the people that have been in a lot longer, have higher ranks, they're going to have a softer landing when they leave the service. They're going to have that, they're going to have that money to be able to
Start
rebuild their life, restart, all that, which is great. But here's the one thing that doesn't get talked about. And I have literally fought this for a decade, is that we have a problem within our regulations, within Title 10 United States Code, I think Title 38 CFR 3.700 and some other things. If you, after separating from service, right, if you're involuntarily SEP or you do voluntary SEP and you receive separation pay, if you qualify for VA monetary compensation through the VA, so disability pay, all right, I think at 30% is the start point where you get pay. If you are eligible for that, you will not receive a dime of your disability pay until the net, so post-tax amount of the separation pay that you received has been recuperated from your disability pay. So I was involuntarily SEP from the Army. I got passed over for CW4, and they said, hey, thanks for playing, because the Army's up or out. The Air Force retains their people until they hit a retention control point. But I got separation pay. I think, before taxes, I think it was like 62,000 some odd, based off of my years in service, my rank, all that stuff.
Yeah.
After taxes, it was 49,000 and change. I received a 60% disability rating once I got all my paperwork through the VA. I didn't see a dime of my disability pay until 2018. I got my first disability payment from the VA while I was sitting in Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan, doing historian duties for the 455th Air Expeditionary Wing, when that first payment came in for my disability. And I got picked up as a historian for the Air Force late in 17. So I spent from beginning of 15 until end of 17 applying for jobs. I know for sure at a bare minimum I applied for 136 different positions locally, out of the area where I'd have to move, all of this stuff. The only job I ended up getting picked up for, because I knew somebody, was front desk at a hotel, and I was doing a VA work study program, making $7.66 an hour, working in the command historian's office at the engineer school on Fort Leonard Wood. But I couldn't pay all my bills. Even with my GI Bill living stipend coming in while I was going to school, I couldn't pay my bills. I had a car repossessed. I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. Am I paying my electric bill this week, or I'm putting food in the cupboards? So you have these people who are getting ready to get out. It was 3 years for me before I saw a dime of pay, right? You get somebody who's had 15 years in, they're, you know, a captain or a major or whatever. Dude, it's going to be a decade or better before they ever see a dime of disability pay that they have earned. And these are people, I don't care how they identify. I don't care what is betwixt their legs or not betwixt their legs. These are people who signed up, raised their right hand, took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Many of them have broken and battered their bodies in the field of combat. They have earned this. It doesn't matter if they identify as a man or a woman or a space cadet or a Martian or whatever. They earned it.
Yeah.
And the thing is the way the laws are written, if you can't, basically they work it off of you are not allowed to receive concurrent benefits. And so the way they interpret this lump sum of severance pay that you get when you leave as you're receiving concurrent benefits. Now, if you're 100% disabled and it's combat related, it's all waived, which is nice of them, I guess. But it's like you paid me a lump sum of money that came from, like for me, it came from the Army. The Army paid me that. The VA didn't pay me that. The Army paid me separation pay, which is a severance pay, and people don't pay severance pay back. Like, that's not how this works. But you can't have receipt of concurrent benefits.
So how can it be fixed? In your
well, then that goes back to my point. This is all system problems.
Exactly.
There's something broken with the way that it's designed to be executed, and it's not being administered in any way, shape, or form that anybody is clear. Nobody is paying attention to it and seeing.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm sure there are people like you and many other cases where people have brought up, "Hey, what the fuck's going on here? Why is this?" And there's nobody responsible, or even if there was, there's nobody who could affect a change in the current system to fix it. That's why I'm just going back. Last time I'll say it. I'm voting for Doge and the DOD.
Well, and that's the thing is I think Doge can be an incredibly effective tool, right?
For sure.
We don't need to be ham-fisted with good people about this. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There is this temptation to do so, but the fact of the matter is, I've already seen there is a massive there is a thread called Fed News on Reddit, and they're like up to like 10 super threads on this thing. There are people in there talking about coworkers who've committed suicide because they've just been laid off, and they were told, oh yeah, it's performance related, when like you can look at their performance reviews and they have all the paperwork that was like, I'm a stellar person, this guy kicks ass and takes names every friggin' day of the week and twice on Sunday. Sorry, we're letting you go for performance. And then here's the other thing with that little one, because there were a bunch of people that got impacted by that. And so many so that our highest level of leadership within our structure, for my organization, at the Secretary of the Air Force level, right, made a point in a meeting to say none of this paperwork will be listed as having been performance related, because the minute you put you're being released for you're being fired or let go, and it's due to performance things, you don't have access to any of the benefits as far as the unemployment benefits and things like that, because you've been fired rather than laid off.
So that becomes
that's just wrong.
Yeah. But that's what's happening, because these people have gone in like, we're going in and I've got the friggin' M1A1 flamethrower on my back and we're matchsticking this motherfucker. Like,
well, and Jason, I'm sure you see the irony. I'm sure you see the irony, and you know, what you you said earlier? What's the military about? You break things and kill people, right? And
Right,
what
but
you do,
you don't do
what
that
you
to your own
do,
people.
yeah, I know, but what you do is you can move fast and you break things, right?
Right.
And that's exactly what these guys are doing. They're basically taking a military tactic and they're applying it to and here's the thing. I completely agree that unfortunately there's going to be collateral damage and shrapnel is going to get in places that they didn't expect it. Because
Well,
you
and the
don't
thing is
know
that
you
it
don't
doesn't
know
need
until
to be
you
done
go,
that way.
well, I can see an argument for being more selective and surgical,
Yes.
but I also feel like you've got to go at it hard first to go dent it and put a big fucking, stop the inertia, and
And
it
I
will
can
then
I can
a
I
lot
can
of the
actually
shit, a
understand
lot
that
of the
logic.
shit, a lot of shit will shake out of it on its own, and
I
I
can
think a lot of
understand
that
that.
is happening.
I can understand that logic, but here's
You
the
shock the
problem.
system and you see what happens, and then you stand back. And go, oh, that went too
Here's-
far. Go
here's
fix
the-
that.
here's the
Set
problem
that
with-
back up on its little stool.
Right, but here's the problem with doing that. When you do it like that, you mess over a lot of good people, good, loyal,
Yeah.
hardworking people, and then what are you gonna? Oh, hey, dude, look, I'm sorry, got a little carried away. You want to come on back?
Yes,
Like,
yes, that's exactly
right,
what
no.
you do.
And then those people are like, no, because you dropped me tied up on the railroad track with Snidely Whiplash, and you left me there to get hit by the freight train.
And speaking of that, I know it's Goodall's got a story about being tied up on railroad tracks.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, what's that? Didn't you steal a train sometime?
Yeah, I
You-
stole
you
the
s-
train. I wasn't tied up on the railroad.
Oh, okay, all right.
They didn't-
You
they didn't
stole a
find it-
train.
they
Oh
didn't
my
find it-
God, dude.
They didn't find it for 3 weeks. I was 11 years old. Statute of limitations are long gone. Everybody at Southern Pacific or Santa Fe, whatever it was back then, they're all dead and buried.
They're all gone.
Oh my goodness.
It was in Mountain
They
View.
wouldn't recognize you anyway.
That's right. It was-
But they
Not
would.
at this point.
Your name would tip them off.
yeah,
Facial recognition wasn't there, thank gosh.
yeah, and I mean that's what gets me about today's kids. They don't have any imagination.
Duh.
I mean,
That's certainly creative, Jim.
we had no this one you can get away with it. There was a situation, and again, this is in high school.
Yeah.
Los Alamos High School had a lot of very wealthy families who had their kids
Okay.
there, and there was all sorts of classic 20s and 30s vintage cars, big limousines, and they had been restored. And this is when Elliott Ness is really big. I was a class of '63, so it'd been 1960, '61 time frame.
Yeah.
And there was a new gangster movie on at the Stanford Theater downtown Palo Alto, and we had a victim. He had little packets in his shirt. He'd go like this, and it looked like he's getting shot. And these 1930 vintage limousines driving down the main drag in downtown Palo Alto in front of the world premiere of this movie, and the line went around the block to get in.
Yeah.
And the guys, the so-called victim is trying to get people to help him. They're after me, and all of a sudden these cars stop. A bunch of guys get out. There's about 10 or 15 of them. They have automatic, they have Tommy guns and whatever, shooting blanks and start shooting him. He's going like this, falls down. A couple guys get him, throw him in the trunk, and off they went.
And it was all a publicity stunt?
No, it
For
was
the
just
movie?
it was a bunch of high school kids having a good time.
Oh my goodness.
They did the same. They did the same thing on the Golden Gate Bridge. It was Memorial Day weekend, and they stopped mid. They stopped mid span. They had a fully articulated dummy in the trunk, and they stopped, opened the trunk, looked around, took this body and threw it over.
Yeah.
Before they got to Marin County side, there was a roadblock up there. They had him they had him locked up for almost 3 days.
Oh Jesus.
until the debris from the bodies they were able to locate enough to. And yeah, so that's the stuff you did.
Well, I just got to say, I don't know which I was laughing harder at, Jim's story or watching Jason mop his fucking floor.
Hey, I'm multitasking, dude.
I was watching you peel off the old one and put on the new one, and Jim's going on about his story. And I think this is.
Well, look,
I think I need to hit that joint
I've got to
again.
keep my bathroom clean. All right, I've got to keep things looking nice in here.
There
All
you
right.
go. Yeah. Okay.
My classic Elfgren, Elfgren girl pinup shower curtain, because I'm a vintage nerd like that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say you are getting your vintage on between that stove and that fridge and now that shower curtain. I'm thinking,
Well, I mean, my
you-
house was built in '54, man. I've got to roll with it. I can't not. Like,
there you go.
I use pomade. All right, like that should tell you something. Like,
Oh, he's
Pomade.
he has it bad. He has it bad. Is there a 1-800 number he could call?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, Jim. I started pumping my hair. I've got my hat on tonight, but I started rolling a pompadour in Iraq 0708 because I was trying to save money on spending, trying to not spend money on haircuts. And I was up at the PX tent, and I was like just walking through the aisles, and there was a can of Murray's Superior pomade, and I was like, I'll just start greasing my hair and slicking it down, and then nobody can tell me that my hair's too long. And yeah.
Well, did you ever have the pleasure of using butch wax?
Oh, I did.
I have not used specifically butch wax, but I have used some pretty heavyweight pomades that are basically wax. My
that
hair is so
butch
long.
wax- My hair when
pain.
I was 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
it was it was buzz short.
Did
But
the
that
burr.
butch wax is like a semi-translucent pink gel shit,
Yep.
and
Oh,
you
yeah.
stick your fingers in there and and then your head would turn into a spike, bunch of spikes all
And then
over.
when it cured, it could be a dangerous weapon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it became it was like a helmet. And then of course Vicks Vapo Rub, right?
Oh, yeah.
The
You put that on
whole
everything.
Vicks, everything. That with Mercurochrome.
Oh my gosh,
Mercurochrome.
you're dating yourself.
I've got a cut. Get the Mercurochrome.
Did you get the
Get the
little like
Mercurochrome
bunny
up.
too with the Q-tips or what?
No, but we did do ear candles. Ear candles are awesome.
Well, I do that. I do navel candling too.
Oh, and-
Navel
and
candle.
Going
What's that?
going
What's that?
going back to the retro
Whoa.
stuff in my house. So
Nice.
this is a 1940 Philco console radio.
Oh my gosh.
And record.
Oh my.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Where did you find that?
So
Just a story.
Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, okay.
I paid $45 for it.
Oh,
Get
wow.
serious.
What?
Working?
Yep. So the lights come on. It needs to be gone through with the tubes. It probably needs the antenna redone. I need to redo the stuff with the turntable, but everything's there.
Yeah.
And
oh,
the
it
circuits-
looks like you got
yeah.
everything you need to crank that thing up.
And then my 1939 Zenith,
Ooh. Nice.
which so here's the fun thing with this one.
I think Jim just got some wood.
I
Where is that?
haven't messed with the guts, but I have replaced the speaker, the speaker, and then I have an amp unit tied into the speaker, and then plugged into the amp unit is my my Alexa. So it's like, computer, what's the top speed of the SR-71 Blackbird?
The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird can fly at speeds up to Mach 3.3, or 2,534 miles per hour, making it the fastest manned, air-breathing aircraft.
So it pumps out of the radio because I need to rebuild the guts on that one too. But I picked that one up for 300 because it actually will work. I can faintly pull signal with it, but I need
Well,
to go through
put-
everything on it.
Hooking your Alexa up to it is badass. I think, yeah, I'd just go with that. And because
Well-
you can tell it to play the songs, right? Play
Right,
whatever station,
exactly.
right?
And because it's a single large speaker, it
Yeah.
still has the old school sound. Even though it's a new production speaker, it still has the old school sound through it. What I want to do is there's a ring of LEDs in the top of the Alexa, of the Echo Dot. So, it'll do this chasing light around the top when it's connecting or when it's,
Yeah.
responding and things like that. I have some heavy gauge fiber optic style cable kind of stuff. What I want to do is eventually, when I get the time and I figure out exactly how I'm going to do it, I want to take all of that, link it up with the LEDs, and then run it into the dial face where the lighting is, so that you
Yeah.
get the lights chasing around the dial. I
That'd be
still
cool.
haven't quite
Yeah.
figured out how to do it, but once I figure out how to do it, it'll be cool. So.
So,
Yeah.
Jason, you got some sweet shit there. I have to say, I got jelly on your goodies there. Now, it made me think.
Hey,
I mean,
hey,
you
The
basically
police told you you could not do that anymore.
so
What? Put
it-
jelly on shit? What?
Been charged. Jim's charging him.
So the question came to my mind. I mean, your crib is basically an antique store,
It's
right?
Herbie the Love
And your
Bug.
garage too.
Yes,
You got
that's
Herbie.
Herbie the Love Bug. So
Right.
that's my 1963 sunroof Beetle, and
Oh my
then that's
gosh.
my 1953 Ford custom line Tudor sedan with the original flathead V8. Still runs. It needs to be gone through, but it still runs. So, and it's still 3 on the tree.
I
Nice.
learned how to go with a car on that.
Say again.
That's how I learned actually to operate the vehicle. 3 on the
Oh, on a column shift. yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
So back to my question, especially now, and I had this before. I saw you had the antique wheels and shit there too, but you're living, in an antique kind of world, in a throwback realm.
Yeah.
How does that impact your love life and relationships?
It doesn't.
Do you tend to find attractive vintage and antique women?
Now, when you say vintage and antique women, is this a joke about like I have septuagenarians trying to hit me up? Is that what you're trying to get at? Is that,
No,
is
no,
that the
well,
joke,
I-
or are you
no,
talking
I-
about
yeah,
running
I don't
into
have that
other
shit.
finding women who share the same passion?
Well, or are
I have
from
to
the
ask
same
for these
era?
clarifications.
Yeah.
Are they from the same era as that's those things you'd like to collect?
No, that's not. No, I do not. I do not collect partners from the same eras.
1953. Yeah,
Where did
Yeah.
you learn how to?
1953.
Who let you out tonight?
Well, I said this was unexpected. I didn't know I was coming.
Yeah.
I got a question.
No,
I got a
like-
question, just not quite on the thing, but do you go into things like West Coast swing and stuff, which is from that area, like Lindy Hop? And I mean, those are
So
fun.
I
fun
love
dances.
West Coast swing. I love Lindy
Yeah.
Hop. I have 2 left feet.
Well, but it's fun.
I could not dance. I could not properly swing dance in any sort of awesome way where people would want to watch it happen, or jive, which is more the 50s.
Yep.
To save my children with a group of terrorists with machine guns to their heads. Like I'd be like, guys, I love you. I'm sorry. Like I'll do a little shuffle. Oh, yep, nope, there went one. I better just, you know what, just fist bump it out, kid. You
Well,
know,
that's Goodall's wheelhouse.
Yeah, I
killing
started-
children.
No, yeah, that too, I guess.
Well,
I started dancing to 40s big band with my mom when I
Yeah.
was about 5, did swing dancing. And then rock and roll hit. And we had rock and roll playing in the house. Yeah, we even had it was an East Bay AM radio station. It was a black station. And they played all the real the Mississippi blues and stuff. And that's the stuff I grew up with. And I grew up with doo-wop.
Right.
That, I mean, and I can hear a song that I haven't heard since say 1955.
Mm-hmm.
And I can, if it was if it had an impact on me, I could tell you where I was,
What
who
you're
I
doing.
was with, and what I was wearing the moment I heard that song.
So
Time
I mean,
travel.
like you talk about the radios playing like Mississippi blues and things like that. So I'm taking it, you know, Howlin' Wolf.
Yes.
Yeah. Smokestack Lightning, all that.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to meet Paul Allen when I was the curator at the Pacific Aviation Museum in Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And he was thinking about moving his collection to Ford Island there, where our museum was. As it was, I spent 5 hours with him, and I said,
wow.
I never, and he's the most zero type of guy personality-wise. I mean, he's not bubbly. He's actually had gone to training to have a personality because he doesn't have one. But he was just an average guy. I mean, I got a call from my boss. He said, "Are you in the island?" That would be Fort Island in the middle of Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Where the museum was. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, come over to Hangar 79. There's someone I want you to meet.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll find him interesting." And I'm walking in there, and this is a 120,000 square foot
Lost Karen.
hangar. She may be coming back.
Be right back.
Okay. And this guy, he's in Dockers and just a polo shirt, nothing about it. And there was some other people milling around, and that was my boss. So I go over, and he turns around as Paul Allen. So I was turned over to Paul Allen to be his guide for the museum, and then to take him over to the USS Missouri and give him behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I said, I never thought I would ever be able to thank you in person for what you did. And he said, what are you referring to? I said, when you came out with the movie, the television special, Lightning in a Bottle, when you had all the blues people together. And because he has the Music Experience Project there at Seattle Center.
Isn't that where Hendrix Strat is at?
Yeah. He's in that building has his music museum, and has his Star Trek museum.
Oh, wow.
I think he has the original set of Star Trek.
That's pretty cool.
It's all foam core. I mean, you wouldn't really want to lean against it. You'd
Right.
fall through
Yeah.
it. It said in today's high definition TV, you'd never be able to pull it off. You look at it and you sit there and laugh.
Yeah.
And you go look at 50s TV programs when they replay some of these programs, and you just think, I said, am I that far beyond that I thought this? I used to think this was the best stuff or the funniest stuff or whatever, and you just sort of scratch your head. But we all evolve.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's all subjective anyway. I watched one of the not Star Trek the movie. It was one of the first ones when they first did.
Galactica.
It was no
Wrath
the
of Khan?
one. No, it was before that. And
The motion picture?
Was the motion picture before Khan?
Yeah.
It wasn't Khan. It might have been the one after, but it was so. I mean, the set design and everything was so just shit. And I'm looking at it. I'm going, okay, especially compared to all the latest and the new ones. And then, one of my favorites is Generations, where they've got Picard and Kirk.
Yeah.
doing the time travel in the Nexus, like, which
Yeah.
is really cool using that. But that the technology and the way that it has advanced in the way that it's presented is just been awesome. Now,
Yeah.
now Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I did a show with Naeem. The latest show on the Nexus is remote viewing and consciousness, and I've got Naeem Vendreas, who was the remote viewer that saw Trump's assassination 3 months, drew it before, drew the whole scene, drew the sniper, all of it 3 months
Holy shit.
before the assassination attempt, and then in March of 2023, he was doing a target on Trump as well, and then at the end of the session, he saw Elon Musk in the White House and drew a whole bunch of things about what he felt, why Elon was there and what he was doing, and so we had that conversation. Just went up a week ago Tuesday.
That's cool.
Really interesting. Naeem, so he's a professional remote viewer. He's one of the guys that were at Future Forecasting Group that did the Bob Lazar documentary, Jim, that we talked about last year.
Okay. I remember we watched that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the whole concept of the whole the fact that they use a protocol and there's a system and a process to go through a methodical task that will get you to a place where you can actually go see something and get information is fucking amazing. That is definitely wandering in the woo, getting out of the materium into the Ethereum and being able to find that which out there. Oh, drink time. That's right. Take a shot every time.
Oh, hey, Jim. Actually, I just thought of this a second ago. So, since you were the curator out at the Pacific Museum, you'll appreciate this. So, I am the center historian for the headquarters Cyberspace Capabilities Center, right? And we have a heritage collection. It's not big enough to be a museum. At this point, it's a heritage collection. We have a curator, but not big enough to be a full-on museum, though he's working on getting that done. But one of like the big centerpiece display things for our heritage center in the atrium in our building, we have the original switchboard from Hickam, which was the first switchboard, telephone switchboard, put on the island in 1928. And it's where they were making the calls when they were under attack, when everything kicked off. The switchboard operators were making the calls from that. We have that switchboard desk on display in our Heritage Center. And what's really interesting is, so it got put into operation at Hickam in 1928. It went out of service and was pulled out of service and given to, basically given to us to display in the 80s.
It was used up until that time?
Yeah, it was used up until, I think, 86 is when they finally pulled it from service, if I remember correctly. Now, they had done updates to the switch panels and stuff, so if you're looking at it, it's not the original face plates with all the plugs and everything. The chassis, the desk, all the wood frame, that's all original. But so they upgraded the switchboard over the years, but they kept it all in the same housing and desk object structure furniture thing. So we actually have that sitting on display in our in the atrium at this Cyberspace Capabilities Center.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then you're familiar with the Save Awards.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I know of them. I've heard of them.
Yeah, where like if an air traffic controller does something that saves lives, they get the Save Award, right? And the guy that was, and his name's escaping me right now, but the guy that they based that the actions that he did, where they're like, we're creating an award because of what you just, what you've done. That came also from the attack on Pearl. The gentleman, and I can't remember what his rank was at the time, but he was out at the airfield. He ran up the control tower. The flight of B-17s that was coming in from California, right?
Yep.
He gets on the horn with them, does the air traffic controller thing, puts them off in a holding pattern away from the airfield and away from Pearl until the first wave left, brings them in, distributed all of those aircraft across a number of different airfields, right? Got all of the aircraft on the ground without being destroyed, none of the crew injured and all of that. And so because those actions, they created the Save Award. We have a section of the handrail from the tower that when they were tearing everything down, renovating, stuff like that, they took the handrail from the stairs and they cut like a 1.5 foot section out of the handrail, and they made it a desk plaque for that guy. And they gave it to him. And then when he retired, or I think it was after he retired, it came to the center. But we have that in our display case as well, in one of our display cases. So we have a couple of interesting items from Pearl, from the attack there, in our collection.
The bullet holes are still visible in the armored glass on Hangar 79.
Yeah.
And the ones that were totally blown out have been just replaced with clear panes. And one of our volunteers, as the curator, I talked to everybody.
Yeah.
I talked to everybody anyway. So, but one of the volunteers was a detective, a retired detective, Honolulu PD.
Okay.
Actually worked out of Waikiki.
Mm.
And he says, I got to show you something. People over, don't know what to look at. And we go to the south where Hangar 6 was, and that's one of them that burnt down, or they had to tear down.
Yeah.
He said, on the concrete, just sort of look, you'll see marks go like this. So it says, those are all machine gun fire.
Yeah.
And so,
oh yeah.
So I've been up to the top of the orange and white tower there on Fort Island. I've been up to the top of that.
Okay.
14 times.
Nice.
There's 187 steps.
Yeah.
And so now there's an elevator that goes almost all the way to the top. So
well, that's good.
Jim, I didn't know you could count that high.
I don't. I put things in my pocket that remind me of.
Do you leave like M&Ms on each step so you can find your way back?
More than likely, yeah. I like the peanut.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Isn't that how the guys off of Family Guy lured James Woods into the?
Yeah.
Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy.
Yeah. No, I just.
Well, and you got to imagine that's what these Doge boys are probably going through, right? It's in a totally new, digital geeky mindset, but they're like, oh, another nugget. Oh, another nugget. Oh, look, another nugget. And they're just going through finding all kinds of shit. And I let me toss this out to this esteemed panel of extraordinary fellows and felines.
Uh-oh. This is going to be interesting.
I think that what we're seeing in this model of re-looking at everything, basically, my little mode of there was an awakening, which became a revealing, which is causing a rethinking, which is resulting in a reimagining. I think I'm going to postulate that the Doge thing that Musk has actually stumbled upon, maybe probably intentionally, he knew this, he was going to have an opportunity to do this. But I think this Doge thing is going to go global. And I think what's going to happen is he'll be able to take and package that shit and go to any company, any country, any wherever, and they're going to people are going to hire his ass and his little band of banditos, these young studs with doing the balls and the bites, biting balls, maybe, I don't know, but this is going to go global. And I think that it's going to end up being the foundation of the way what people use to figure out what has been all fucked up and needs to be completely replaced, let alone fixed.
And
what do you think?
Yeah, and the thing is that these kids,
I could see it.
These kids have embedded into U.S. Treasury. He said it's like a tractor; it just keeps on plowing through.
Mm.
So they don't ever have to go back to Treasury to pull anything they want. They have everything. And they're putting the same thing in Social Security and whatever, because there's, I mean, there were, is it 4 million people over the age of 140 drawing Social Security payment?
Well, they weren't necessarily drawing Social Security payment, though. There was some clarification on that one.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch that we all know didn't go. People that are known to be dead, but the check.
I think it was funny as hell when. I think it was funny as hell when Trump was laying all that shit out, and particularly on the Social Security and the people that were old and shit. And he got off script and he looked over at Bobby and he said, "Gee, Bobby, I guess we're healthier than we thought we were."
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That was funny.
I was like, dude, to have that kind of timing, you got to be authentic in some way, because that was real.
He's got good comedic timing. He does. Like.
You know what's so funny though is even up here, it's just caught on. Like, I mean, that thing is definitely marketable, right? They could like franchise it up here because, I mean, I just see it even in our local little papers or stuff. It's like, we need to dodge it. We need one of those up here. They need to go through these government. They need to go locally. They need to go provincially. They need to go to the federal level, right? So he's created that little snowball that's going to like end up, infiltrating into everywhere. And there's no borders. We all know that all these corporations and countries are bankrupt anyway. So it's already being done up here, and we know it.
Yeah.
They got their fingers up into everything we got up in here. So
everybody will have a certified Doge thing, and have you been Doged is going to, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and make a t-shirt and put it on my shop tomorrow. Have you been Doged?
It's like having an enema for the financial.
Well, since this is on YouTube, Professor, you probably want to get in on that really quick because somebody's already over at Zazzle making a t-shirt. You need...
Yeah, I've actually got all the tabs. I've got all the design, all the tabs, and everything. It'll be up by the end of the show. I've got my AI agent doing it for me as we speak.
There we go.
No, but seriously, I think that it's really, people don't realize what's coming with this and the importance of it and how powerful this whole model is, because it's literally going to change everything that we've been doing. It'll be the catalyst to get everything into a tokenized model, and it will also be the way in which all of the security concerns and all of the privacy concerns and all those things will be included in being Doged. Basically, you're going to be Doge certified, which means that your shit's been gone through. You have had your digital colonoscopy.
It's been a colonic.
You have been
entomized.
Have you had your Doge probe?
Dude, you've been Doged.
Yeah.
You've been doged.
I mean, the first time I had a colonoscopy, but the doctor, she's a female.
Why did I
she-
say that?
She looked like Janet Reno. But
Oh.
she was a comedian. I mean, she was just funnier than hell. And it was that, we call it United Death. Yeah, but that's something else. But it's, so she, so I'm mostly unconscious, but conscious. And she says, well, the television camera that goes to the monitor you see is malfunctioning. So you can't see what I'm looking at. But as she's going through, and she's giving me the narrative as she's going through, and she said, "Well, Mr. Goodall, I have to say that you're a perfect asshole. Everything looks great." And I mean, because we had been joking back and forth. I mean, it was to go in for something that type of procedure, which is. And then have a female doctor to do it. It was
Well,
just-
Jim, you happen to be on a panel here with a colonoscopy professional. Karen is, I don't know, hundreds. Karen, what?
Thousands.
Okay. She's seen more ass than any one of us, okay?
Probably a fair statement. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually trained. One of my better skills is I trained as a colon hydrotherapist because all nurses actually were till the 1930s.
really.
So yeah, everything from enemas to $10,000 machines to I invented actually a lot of the new protocols for them. So I
wow.
I've been put them on my Tesla stuff and Genius biofeedback. So I do radionics and feed it back into the system and get immediate results. So I go through everything through the root chakras. So yeah, Kalima's everything. So I don't put drugs in and use probes like they do, but yeah, it's actually one of the best ways to heal. So actually, and then peristeam hydrotherapy. So we do it for guys. It's called a resume because I think they want to resume intercourse. I think that's why they called it that. But for women, they call it a vaginal or a yoni steam or a lingam steam for guys. But yeah, we sit on chairs and you put steams up and herbs and vaginal tampons. And I mean, if you think of a root chakra, I probably got it. So I get to
Yeah.
the root of the problem.
Yeah, I know.
That's
From medical issues, I'm a very healthy 80-year-old, and I have a sweet.
You
wife
you
who's-
just need a good colonoscopy.
Yeah.
No, those are evil. You know, people would go have those colonoscopies, right? And then they leave radioactive sludge in. And then my clients would start getting worse, like depending where it was attached to reflexology. Either their ears are going, their heads are going, their heart's going, because they leave biosludge in. So we'd have to go in and clean it out. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I'd have people with Alzheimer's or some weird condition or diabetes or cancer, and 4 or 5 hours with us, it doesn't exist. You're just like a baby reborn. So, and sexually amazing as an aphrodisiac. So, I mean, you can do cannabis that way. You can do a lot of things in mainline, and so frankincense there.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you're talking like medical grade butt chugging.
Yeah, absolutely edible too.
Oh man, that
Well,
just deserves a yeah. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say you're gonna run something
That's
for that,
just-
but yeah.
Yeah, that's just too. That's just.
Well,
sad.
hanging fruit. Sorry, it was right there. I had to go for it. I
Oh, another one. Oh God.
Ugh.
Low hanging fruit.
Oh yeah.
Well, this has certainly been a very interesting conversation covering all kinds of
Shit.
weird and unusual things, and it was all impromptu because there was nothing planned. It was like, hey, you want to sit around and flap your yap for a little bit? Yeah, I guess I got nothing better to do. Let's go ahead and do that. So I have enjoyed.
We've covered everything that you can possibly probably cover.
Well, of those immediate things that are worth covering, because there's a shitload of more to cover.
I mean,
Yes.
Because I don't know about all y'all, but if you want to call it a time speeding up, a time shift, a time line divergence, or whatever, there is something that has just dropped by the last few months, and it came in with a load of itself. There is I think we're going through, and we were just talking about this. I guess let me ask you, because I think I heard everybody in agreement. But do you think Elon's got some new model that's going to go basically transform and take over the planet in Doge?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he's
I
going to
mean-
be more concerned about getting to Mars. Yeah.
Well, what he's gonna do is he's gonna terraform Earth first with Doge and go, all right, works here. Let's take it over there.
I mean, and I
Let's
love
take
his
it to
t-shirt.
Mars.
We
We're
are
gonna
the
audit
beta
Mars.
test.
Yeah, I love his T-shirt. I want to die on Mars, but not by impact.
Not my impact, yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Well,
I mean.
I
he's-
think I think what we're seeing is an assemblage of intellect, track
There's never-
record, inspiration that
There's
has never
group
been
of
assembled
people
before.
like this. There's never been since
That's
the
my
founding
point,
of
yeah.
this country.
That's it.
Yeah.
There has never been an assemblance. I mean, I call them Team America, and you look at other than the goddamn clown car of the last administration, literally a clown car. You look at this, and these people are the absolute best there is in what they do. I mean, and how many billionaires are on the are on the
Well,
group here?
I don't know. If you listen to CNN and MSNBC, they're all a bunch of hacks.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't listen to those people.
I know. Just
You know what's funny up here though is everyone's going because Canada's going into probate, right? Because they've all know that these corporations are going down and bankrupt, right? And so the whole thing is if he starts doing all the, accountability there, and then they start doing the corporations, they're coming after Canada next, right? And they're starting to get a little freaked out, right? Because they go, well, do you know what happens with probate? And it's like a will, it's dying, it's gone, intestate. And I'm like, whoa, you think so? Guess what they have to account for before you do, shutdowns, acquisitions, mergers, whatever, right? So, yeah, they're freaking up a lot of people up here. And I'm like, let it go. This stuff all has to be accounted for. I'd like to know what's going to be sitting in the gold vault, actually. That'd be more exciting.
Yeah.
I want to know what's in there. I was
Well,
looking
yeah.
at Kennedy's. Do you know Kennedy has got, I had talked to Neil Keenan years ago, but Group K, right? Take it or leave it, whatever. But I was going through some of the Hilton agreement because I was trying to track down on the gold that should go back to the First Nations. But while it was in there, Kennedy's have got an actual trust in there that's worth 59,000 tons of gold. Did you know that?
the Kennedys do.
In Fort Knox.
I don't know where it is right now. It was put under the Green Hilton thing that I looked at that Socorno had done. But I'll go back through. But yeah, you can trace it through Neil Keenan, Group K. So there's a whole bunch of stuff because they apparently, or I don't know if it's a story or anointed or whatever, as the Amana, which is kind of like the representative of the Golden Dragons, the Eastern Dragons, Chinese Dragons. So there's a whole bunch of gold that was socked away in different things in Indonesia and other things I was looking at that should come
Well,
back.
there's
Is that with all the
Jap-
gold that they're bringing back?
There was like whatever 150 planes of the Vatican stuff, but a lot of it actually with First Nations, and that applies to anyone that is First Nations. Got nothing to do with being Native, for crap's sakes. Everyone, if you came off the
Yeah.
clan or tribe, we have access to it. So as a clan mother, I've been like investigating this for numerous years, because I'm the one that put in the international warrant actually for Queen Elizabeth after what she did with the missing children up here. So I've been busy with things like that and water being diverted to the States and dams that should be left up here. I have a few issues, but
Wow.
I'd like
the-
you more, even more.
you do?
Yes. So,
Do you want to tell me I'll tell you the other stuff I've been doing behind the scenes for years. But yeah, no, I was taken actually many, many years ago by some of the military and to one of the Stargates outside of Hope, which of course they just blew up on fire last year. But, because of the child protection and stuff. So I mean, there's been some really wild stuff up here. But
Wait.
yeah,
Stargate.
yeah, we have a gate up here by Hope. That's where all the floods and fires were. And then right across from me is that famous saying, at the end of the days, I'll see you at Valhalla. I'm at Valhalla. I'm waiting. Right above the Nelson Q552 base. But Valhalla was all on fire. And this is actually where all the petroglyphs are, like the creation stories, like the Hopi Mayan prophecy. I'm looking out my front window here.
Whoa.
So there's a lot of stuff like the 13 lines. I mean, it's just fascinating stuff, actually. This is a huge sacred site, which is the only reason I'm here right now. But
Yeah.
there's some amazing things. And hot springs, that's the other thing.
Don't forget the hot springs.
Do not forget the hot springs here. That's fun here. But
If you haven't done a hot spring, you are missing out. That is one of God's gifts and the pleasures of life.
Best one we have is Manitou, though. It's just south of Saskatoon, as you guys call Saskatchewan, but in that Cree-Nahiyawak territory, that's about an hour south. And it is over all those dumb tunnels, otherwise known as potash mines. And
Oh, that's the stuff that Trudeau was all like, we're gonna put all these tariffs on all the potash you need.
isn't it? But anyway, we're sitting there. We have more potash. They're ripping up more stuff than they care to.
Jim loves you even more now.
Oh, but you float in this water. My gosh, and it's called Creators Lake. It's called Manitou Lake. And before there were borders, all the different, like Dakota, everyone would come up here, and you sit there. You could be 400 pounds like a marshmallow, and you'll still float. Like the amount of healing. I mean, it looks like you walk into a beer keg, but nonetheless, it's all gorgeous. I've never seen a lake like this ever. It's better, apparently more dense than the Dead Sea. So, anyway,
That's interesting.
it is, yeah, fascinating.
Oh, it's amazing up there. I spent.
You went to Sundre though.
Well, I went to Sundre in Alberta,
Yeah.
but I was a half a mile. It was actually 2 quarter sections from the Red Deer River.
That's true.
So
That's right.
I was in the Red Deer quite a bit, doing a lot of fly fishing, and
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I got spoiled living on that homestead. But then when I went to Whistler and did the whole BC thing, I was
Wow.
like, oh man, you had to get better. Damn it.
Yeah.
Now I want to move up there, but I had felt from, I think first started being attracted to the entire Pacific coast of the Western Hemisphere, from Alaska all the way to Tierra del Fuego down in Chile. I mean, for some reason, there's something about that coast that goes all the way up South America through Central and North and up. There's something.
Gorgeous.
Now, I was born in Long Beach, which is right on the coast in Southern California. So I have a natural vibe with the Pacific
Water.
Ocean. Water in general. I'm Cancerian in the tropical zodiac, but
And
the
roof
whole that for some reason that ridge. I've been to Santiago.
Yeah, you are a Cancer. No.
Yeah, I'm a Cancer on your ass. That's right.
It's okay. It'll end up in the
the-
Okanagan soon anyway. We'll have waterfront right to there. I'm praying. I am so happy. I will be more than happy to forfeit all that, all the way to the Okanagan. They can have it submerged. It's just,
Well, my point is that I think this change that is coming through. We're getting a cosmic wave of energy coming through. Galactic current sheet, different names, but there is a wave of energy that's blowing through the entire system. I guess in a sense, the galactic arm that we're supposed to be on in the Milky Way galaxy is getting a shot from
Planetio.
somewhere, from something. And there's a whole bunch of speculation about what it is, but there's no doubt that it's here. And the shit that's happening right now at a human level in our consciousness, there was a cosmic bitch slap that came dropping in a few months ago, and it's still vibrating around the planet. And the carbon units they're resonating. They're kind of going, what was that? And it's still going, oh shit. And depending on how you've attenuated the nuggets in your noggin, and if you're paying attention and you're at least realizing that reality is much different than you've been told, that shit is coming as a hard surprise. I mean, it's shaking a lot of unawake carbon units to have to be aware and awake, and that is something that we all have to. We have to be aware of it. We have to be compassionate because to those that are going through it, because it's not going to be pretty for them. Certainly not going to be pretty for us as we put up with it not being pretty for them.
I was at one time in my life, I was a wannabe history teacher. I wanted to teach U.S. history. That's why I was a historian in the for the Air Force for 16 years. That's what I do. And it breaks my heart that that some of this shit is happening in this country. I mean, I gave 27 years of my life in the military.
Yeah.
And then you see some of these idiots that roam through the halls of Congress.
Yeah. You know, it's
Well,
funny. Do you know who Ryan Veli is, Jim? Have you heard of him up here? Ryan Veli, Veli. He was a former, he was in California, but he was in the National Guard, and then he moved up here subsequently to Montreal in Quebec. And he's been one of our biggest whistleblowers on the Skynet and JC2 and all the AI tech. And so he's kind of like our version of Sabrina Wallace down there. Actually, I talked to her as well. But he, just hearing it, it just breaks your heart. He says, I joined up to be G.I. Joe and then find out we're in bed with China. We're in bed with this. I'm actually furthering all. Oh, if you haven't heard Ryan Veli, I highly encourage you. He dragged me onto Victor Hugo not too long ago, but I'm with him every week, basically.
I work for.
I've heard about training sites in Canada for Chinese military.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, like Trudeau is like
Red Deer, teaching them to fly. Salt Spring. I've got friends that went. Actually, I don't hunt, but a friend of a friend was up there near Kamloops Chase, and they were out there, and they came across a little camp. It's not unheard of here, but. And then I remember Sergeant Patty Broussard and a few other people were talking at the time, and they were talking about the dumps that were holding basically camps of, like they said, 20, 30,000 under here. So, don't know. It's just a rumor.
20 or 30,000 PLA troops? Holy shit.
Yeah, that was back in 2016, 17, 18. I haven't dealt with them for years, but...
So, okay. Well, when I was my last assignment where I was working, the first gig I got working as a historian for the Air Force was up in Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Yep.
And so from 20 to 23, our city council and mayor and all of that were actively courting a subsidiary of a Chinese company called Fufeng Group, based out of Shandong, if I remember correctly. They were trying to set up a wet corn mill plant in Grand Forks, 12 miles from Grand Forks Air Force Base. All right. At Grand Forks Air Force Base, we controlled all of the Air Force's Global Hawk, RQ-4 Global Hawk operations. Like we flew everything out of that base, and we had Global Hawks that launched and everything. And the corn mill, this wet corn mill plant, was going to have a 300-foot cooling tower that would give you direct line of sight to the airfield, and to the base. And these guys couldn't understand why this was a problem. All they knew was that it was going to be, something like a $400 million project. it was going to create 233, permanent jobs, thousands, obviously, of construction workers and contractors building everything and all that stuff. And they're looking at the dollar signs only. They're not looking at the national security implications. The citizens of Grand Forks started fighting back. I got directly involved with that. I was speaking at city council meetings. I gave the city council, a city council member was like, why should we, fault China or be worried about China? And I was like, okay, let me give you a history lesson. And I gave this lady on the dais during the meeting, and somehow I managed to condense this into 5 minutes. But the entirety of what China has done from 1949 to today,
Yeah.
and the millions of their own people that they have killed, all of this stuff, I covered the billions of dollars of loss in, through corporate and technological espionage and all of these things. And it's like, so you ask why do we care about China? And they all looked at me like a dog looking at a high-pitched noise. Like, I could not explain this stuff to them in simple enough dumb terms to make them understand. And we have college professors on the city council, right? Like, very educated, capable people up there. There's an engineer on the city council. Like, all of this stuff. Like, these aren't stupid people. And oh my God, like, that's when it was during all of that I first heard about training camps in Canada for PLA soldiers. And but we ended up making a big enough stink. We got it elevated literally all the way to the White House. It was making national news, and it was making international news. There are still people in Grand Forks right now who are getting called by newspapers and TV stations and stuff like that from Taiwan, from Japan, like all of this stuff. And they're still dealing with the fallout of it today. But we managed to get it elevated high enough that we finally got a memo from the Secretary of the Air Force for Acquisitions, because their SAF AQX, as it's called for the acronym, they're the ones who are tied into CFIUS, so the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States.
Oh, okay.
And so any foreign business that wants to come into the U.S., set up factories, set up plants, set up business operations, whatever, they go through a CFIUS review. They make sure there's no national security issues. They make sure there's no other issues and things like that. And then they gave them the yay or nay.
Right.
And these guys were slipping in because they bought ag land and were going to develop it into industrial commercial, rather than purchasing a business outright or purchasing industrial commercial land, right? They bought 370 acres of farmland. CFIUS didn't cover anything with ag land. They didn't even pay attention to it, because they're like, oh, whatever, it's people grow crap, whatever, right? Like, they're thinking industrial and tech and things like that is really where they were focused with stuff. So we got it elevated where it brought ag land onto the radar screen, and they started we influenced national policy by the stink that we created. And so finally we get a memo from SAF AQX sent to Senator Craven and Senator Hoeven, saying this has national security implications. This project really does need to be stopped. You guys need to tell the governor, send this memo to the governor and let them know there are national security implications and it needs to be stopped. And the governor needs to pass this down to the city council. And I remember being in the room when the city council, like, we knew the letter was coming down. We already, like media had got on the letter was coming down. These guys just had to sit there at city council during the meeting and read out that we are canceling any work with this project and we're not going further with it. The whole city council chambers was filled with people, and they read this thing out. And as soon as the mayor finished reading that, the whole audience broke out into cheers, and then USA, USA, USA. Tom Cotton has a book. Senator Tom Cotton has a book called 7 Things That You Can't Say About China or talk about with China or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He mentions this in his book. So, like, we had I remember watching. I think Tom Cotton and a couple other people were on, one of the National Defense Council things in Congress, right? C.Q. Brown, the Air Force general that just got relieved, because they're pulling a new Secretary of the Air Force, right, or Joint Chief of Staff rather. He was in there for that. They're grilling him, and they're like, "So, what can you tell us about Fufeng USA and Fufeng Group and all of this stuff going on outside of Grand Forks, 12 miles from Grand Forks Air Force Base, right?" And he's like, "I can't speak about that in an unclassified setting." Like, we sent the links from the C-SPAN videos and everything to these guys on the city council. Like, they fucking didn't get it. They, our wing commander was like, and the military is supposed to be apolitical, right? They're not supposed to get involved in politics. They're not supposed to get involved in local politics, except for very minimal levels that relate to base to city relations, that kind of stuff, right?
However,
our wing commander was like, they contacted the wing commander and they were like, "Hey, what do you know about this? Is this something bad?" Wing commander comes back and he's like, "I personally don't know anything about this or the status of it. I have no opinion on it. If there is a problem with it, you will hear it from a higher level within the Air Force or within the federal government." They took that statement, and I literally heard them on the radio saying this, and I called in a couple of times too, saying this during city council meetings and things like that. I'd seen the email traffic. I'd read the stuff. I knew what was what, because I'd seen this traffic, because our PA chief was, her and I were like this with stuff, and she'd give me information so I could include an annual history and all that. And literally saying, the Air Force said it was okay and they didn't see a problem with it, so this is fine. I don't understand why everybody's complaining about this. And I was like, that is not what Colonel Curry said. Colonel Curry said he did not know of anything, and that if there were issues, you would hear it from higher echelons above me. And then they started hearing it. They kept pushing forward with it. We brought out like the lead China dude from the Air Force's Air China University, where they basically study all of the Chinese Air Force military things, and they do papers and publish all these things about it. He came out and gave 3 briefings one day. He gave one that was a closed door briefing to one of the squadrons in classified setting, because he was talking about stuff they couldn't talk about. And then he gave 2 unclassified, open to public briefings. I attended both of those, right? And I sat through all of them. I heard exactly what he said, how he responded to the questions. Like, he didn't say, "Oh, we should totally be in business and in bed with China. This is fine. There's no problem here." He was like, "Okay, we have to figure out a way to deal with these guys and to work with these people, but you cannot go into anything with them without having your eyes completely wide open and understanding that there's going to be issues, and understanding how their government is tied in with defense, how everything they do is tied in with everything." And one of the council members was there. He took that, that statement, and he twisted it. And another council member got on the radio and said, he said we need to be doing business with these guys and that we should be doing all of this stuff, and then it's great and there's no problem. And I'm driving home from work and I hear Brett Weber sitting there telling this to the guy on the radio. I call in and I'm like, "Were you at those briefings?" "Well, no, this is what I was like." I was at both of the open briefings. That is not what he said. Do not try to spin this. This is exactly what he said. And the radio guy was like, "Oh, well, hey, we got a break coming up. We got to go. Go ahead. We're going to go to commercial." Like, I reamed the dude out. Like, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, like, when you talk about 16,000, 30,000 Chinese, People's Liberation Army troops hanging out in Canada doing maneuvers, it's like
they've been up there doing them in DC in particular for at least the last 5 or 6 years or more.
Oh yeah,
And
it's
They start,
it's
they
crazy,
start going
and
in
nobody
arena
nobody
there.
seems to get this stuff. They don't really like pick up on these things. And I tell anybody that gets talking about it, I'm like, look, go read a couple of books. I want you to read The Kill Chain. I want you to read Everything Under the Sun, Everything Under the Heavens. I want you to read. Uh, there's a book called Unrestricted. Was it called War Without Rules, which is basically an abridged and translated version of a report, book, study, however you want to refer to it, that a couple of People's Liberation Army Air Force colonels put together following Desert Storm, because they were watching us during Desert Storm like hawks. They were studying everything that we did and taking notes. And so they put out this book called Unrestricted Warfare, which outlines all the kinds of things that they are doing right now. Like, they've incorporated all this stuff. And so this former, I think he's a former Air Force colonel, retired colonel or one-star general. He did basically a translated and abridged version of that book. So you get all the important points to take from that publication. I was like, so read that, all right, and then the what is it, 100-Year War or something like that. Like, go read these.
So Jason, do you think that first of all, just from an Asian and particularly a Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese mentality, Taoist model, the planning ahead is always way out as far as you can basically see, because the whole model is to look at the trends of the frequencies and the vibrations and the waves and everything, and project where you think they're going to go and how you want to direct them. Okay, but it seems to me that when you use a specific ideology to try to affect the way that you're going to leverage that trend of frequencies, you're going to be limiting your ability to fully engage with it and interact with it, because you've got a narrow mindset. So the reason I'm saying this is this. The Chinese philosophy, from a ideological, military, cultural perspective, economic one, is one of being in a dominant position. So there's a plan, a vision to look out much further in the future than most people to affect that change. Do you think that they've done that clearly through these troops and all of this nefarious shit, but they didn't plan for what's happening now? And do you think that Doge could actually end up really fucking with the Chinese?
They were in bed with them all.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure on that
them?
one.
Yeah.
Here's what I can say. When you talk about how they're planning and how they're looking at things, everything right now with the militarists and the hawks within the Chinese government and with Xi Jinping and all of that, you have to take the way that they look at and plan and strategize. You have to go back to the Warring States period. You have to go back like 2,300 years where these philosophies were developed. So like, you're talking like Sun Tzu level type stuff, like that time frame.
Art of War.
Right. Going beyond Art of War, because there were other philosophers and strategists and things like that. One of the biggest things they base everything off of is there's a list out there. It's called the 36 Stratagem. Go look up the 36 Stratagem, and that will give you the insight to how these guys are doing things. And you read Art of War too, right? Because there's good stuff in there in terms of tactics or strategy or whatever, right?
Well, one of
But-
the ones that just is an interjection that I think is applicable to what we're seeing right now, and Wu and Big Bird, yeah, Epstein and all that stuff, it's a process. Some will come. You just have to be patient. You can't be led by the lure in the lake that's being drug in front of your nose. And the first 40, 50 days of Trump, I don't know. I think it's going to be, at this point, if it continues current course and speed, it will be a master class in wherever education is sold in the future of how to go get shit done,
Yeah.
while ensuring that you're going to get it done by assembling all of the badasses that are available to do so. So just wanted to acknowledge you guys and your questions out there. But going back to this, the whole, I think what's happening, and I'm a Tao. I've been following the Taoist philosophy for about 30 years now. The reason I chose that is because there's no hierarchy. There's no, there is only being it in the is as is being it. There is a flow. There is a feel. There is navigating it as it exists without any of the bullshit and the wrappers and the plastic and the nonsense that people put around things. Philosophies, theologies, ideologies, whatever, sciences, doesn't matter. Everybody's got a wrapper on something. And you got to peel back the wrapper to get to the nut of the nugget to figure out what the fuck it is that's actually going on. I think what's happening right now is that this global morphing and metastasizing of this creature that is kind of happening out of the carbon units is actually being guided and navigated by not only cosmic energy but our cosmic cousins. That there is a much larger thing afoot as it relates to who we as humanity in these carbon units experience the iteration that we're having. And we're being influenced and affected and guided and protected and coddled and cajoled and nudged into another state of being a part of the galactic cosmos, getting us ready. And I think Elon, it's oddly enough, as geeky as that fucker is, I think he's, and Karen I know has some very specific ideas about this, but I think that at a minimum, whether it's intentional, accidental, or a combination of both, he is performing a catalytic, he is a catalyst to this interaction with our cosmic cousins, to this, what some people I think mistakenly refer to as ascending into the fifth dimension, and going into these other interdimensional transformative consciousness levels of enlightenment and wonderment.
Yeah.
I think all of that is just a bunch of fluff and shit that's been put around what's really going on, which is, at the fundamental level, all those things are happening. There's no way that we are from some dude in a cloud with a harp, proclaiming this and that and breathing whatever into whatever. That all of that construct has been so dominant for so many millennia over so many cultures and civilizations that it's now being exposed as a complete fabricated story to herd the sleeple. And I think that realization is a part of this awakening. It's a part of the reveal, which is causing people to rethink. They're going, wait a minute, this whole UFO, UAP, EIEIO, ufology thing. You look at all these groups and everybody's fighting amongst themselves. Everybody's throwing poo at each other. You get into the paranormal, same shit's going on. Everybody's arguing and they've got this. Nobody's really got anything, but by God, they are active in sharing their shit amongst each other and giving each other shit for their share, which is like, okay, slow down, y'all. Just pump the brakes a little bit. Stop and look at what's going on and think about what's going on. there's clearly, in my opinion, a shift in the way that people are experiencing reality. And it's because the frequencies that are coming in, that are coming through this entire existence we call the Materium, are being shifted and affected by the Ethereum. And that's what I wanted to make sure I got into Jason, because he knows there's no conversation he's going to have with me that doesn't end up in the Ethereum and the Materium.
I want to jump on something Jason said, because it was really fascinating what you brought up about that. Because when I grew up and stayed a large part of my existence and set up my quantum health centers in Saskatoon. And what was interesting is Dundurn is an ammunitions weapons depot there, which was about half an hour south. And then we had the Air Force with the Royal Canadian Air Force out of Moose Jaw. Now, one of the interesting things is, and we were only about actually 9 hours from Standing Rock, so even that stuff we were all involved with. But what was interesting, I remember when they had something called, there was a big sign, it was like, the province of Saskatchewan is now doing something with the Asian Pacific Rim, and I went, oh, I think we're in deep shit. Saskatoon, the province of Saskatchewan, and the Asian Pacific Rim, we're gone. I knew that. And literally, they wanted to put the world's largest shopping mall just outside of Dundurn, Saskatchewan, which had a population of a couple hundred, But of course, it was right next to the army base, which of course, coincidentally, was right next to the Dakota Whitecap First Reserve Nations as well. But just happened to have a very interesting kind of landing strip for like a TR3 or something. But, there was weird stuff going out there. But again, I knew there were tunnel systems, and they wanted to start building these things that look like NORAD facilities, right? And called it a pea processing plant. And so the guys would call me out, and I'd go out, go investigate all this stuff or whatever was going on. Or, they would come up with, for example, like they put a boat together. Everyone goes, there's pirates up here. What do you mean there's pirates up here? And we have to go to Manitou Beach. They're doing something to the water, right? And so sure as crap, they did. They came up from the States. They were from actually Texas and Alaska and put their flags up. So, of course, they're a little black. So, I mean, the people didn't know it, but we checked into it. But they were doing seismic stuff. And sure as crap, they started playing with the waters and the intakes and wrecked all the, salt lakes up there in the brine. Even when we had Fort McMurray, right, they moved 80,000 people out within like a day out of there, because that was our first Maui and paradise, right? We had was in Fort Mac in Alberta. And what was interesting is that a lot of people don't know there was a base 20 minutes north of there. And that's what they're going after, is these, illegal, unacknowledged projects bases. And people just don't get it. Like, I did the medical evac because the Canadian military wouldn't help me out. But we had people literally just outside of Silver Creek and Hope, British Columbia, in the lower part of the Okanagan. And when they decided to blow those direct energy weapons and started to flood everything, because they knew there was a gate there, had been taken there back in 2006, by the way, to look at stuff. And I'd seen things like SG-1, and there was these gorgeous, like, petrified wood and rocks, and with all the original carvings in it, just like you see on Stargate. I was like, and there was constellation maps, and I do want to say that I could decode some of it. Because they were looking at it from the wrong direction. I think it was a male perspective, maybe, but they were coming at it from the wrong trajectory. Just like we have stuff here that people can't decode. And, some of it's kind of simple after you kind of look at a few of them. But one of the things is that people were not aware of the, totality of what was going on. And we had, like, I was taking out people that were blistering, first-degree burns, losing their hair, lost their sight. I've got the pictures of the beam weapons that actually came down and went through places, and the blackened everything, like, immediately. But even the dogs and the cats were bleeding out their rectum, losing their hair, and bleeding out their paws when I took them out of there. So a lot of people don't get it. They just think it's some sort of fire. And I'm like, are you guys out of your minds? Because I know what's going on, right? That it's 6G, it's going through the ground, and they've got such a little clue. And that's why I want this kind of stuff out. You know, you can only do so much aloe vera here and teach people, you know, holistic for things. And my new thing in the last month has been I just developed all the codes for the serratia for the fog up here because I work with Ryan Williams and do. He was in the South African Army, but he's the one doing all our tech for the biofeedback, so we can do the Rife and Scalar stuff. So
Yeah, Karen.
So when
while
you're
we're
when you
on
talk
that,
about
while,
the
well,
fog,
real quick, Karen. Before you go on there, Jason.
yeah.
Tell everybody where they can find the Genius app and what you're doing, because this is the transformative technology of the future, and it is extremely profound. It's all based on the frequencies and vibrations of reality as we inhabit it. And but where can everybody find that? Let's put that in the chat so everybody can take a look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing stuff.
I
And
need
it has
to.
it's a part of this great reveal and rethink that we're going through,
Yeah.
so that we can reimagine what we're doing.
there's my bio bear, but we can hook people up from a distance or right on, and we can actually scan them so I can look at the biofield and we can run frequency. So, in other words, if you want to go to insighthealthapps.com or
Mhm.
get a hold of me, that's where people can download this. So we've got it now. My $50,000 equipment and stuff here with all the generators are down to interfacing with iPads, tablets, and phones and stuff right now. So we literally are like Star Trek. I just scan people now. So it really is kind of fun because you can look at the auras, you can look at, and I developed a lot of stuff because I worked with a lot of people, you know, in the forces and vets and stuff, but for sexual abuse, ritual abuse, targeted individuals, stalking, radiation, those type of things, all the venoms that were coming up, because I mean, they all want to sell more drugs, and half the drugs they're giving people, and I've worked with, you know, the people like Dr. Robert Young, who's now been in jail for a month, right? But a lot of the stuff that they're putting up there, like, you know, nano zeolites and carbon C60s and carbon C, like shungite type stuff, and fullerenes and EDTA, methylene blue, even ivermectin, I can tell you, we've got it under the microscope. The thing is that they see such a little sliver of that visible light spectrum through a microscope, and what will happen is that it's going into a different phase. It goes in and out dimensionally. It changes depending on the radiation and what you're running around there. And it also can change, you know, the whole entire going in through Tesla-phoresis. So that changes it. So it will show up on a microscope and that show up on a microscope. And wait till they find out. We've been telling people for ages the ivermectin was shipped. Their asses are going to go to the other space stations that they don't know about up there. So that's part of the education process as well. You know, is that they're feeding people back in the system, or they're hooking up people that have pacemakers, or they're using our kind of technology like Rife and Radionics, running currents or putting them into rooms with these blaring TVs running supposedly, you know, 528, which is bullshit. And then we're having people ending up blind for a week. Like, you know, or putting people in a microwave with these 528, you know, cubicles, right? And they're putting in vaxxed with unvaxxed, and now my people are sick and in the hospital. So that's part of it. Part is the education for it. So,
Yeah,
but
this is the kind of
Tesla
stuff
stuff
that,
and all
and
sorts of cool stuff.
I just put Karen's YouTube link in the chat, and also the Insight Health Apps link in the chat as well. This is something that's really important for what we're going to see. In my opinion, this transformative disruption is going to include not only the shit we were talking about, like everybody's going to get doged. Man, I'm telling you, that
Can't
T-shirt's
wait.
almost ready. It should be ready by the end of the show. But that is from an organizational, transactional, disintermediated reality that we will all be able to exist in, which is just the way we get things done. But the stuff that Karen's doing and the health technologies that are about to just get dropped on humanity are going to blow everybody's minds. I probably around 20 or so when I moved up to the homestead, I think I had this sense that I was here to. I came in this iteration to accomplish certain things and get shit done. And at current course and speed, I'm going to be a $120 before I'm done. And I feel like I'm going to be a $120,
You're
or
lucky.
maybe even more.
Are you
But
going to
the-
actually be a $120, or are you going to be 150 years old drawing a social security check because they
Books.
can't read a specific code that
Yeah.
defaults to 1875 when you don't know the birth date of a.
Oh, I'm just going to get. I'm going to get real friendly with big balls, and I'm going to make sure that the code
wa-
for
I
me
wanna-
in the system
Well, I have it in my
is
head.
set
Yeah.
appropriately.
Well, I have it in my head. I gotta make. I mentioned it to you before. Ben, do you know the Lockheed Skunk Works? Are you familiar with them?
Say again.
Are you familiar with the Lockheed Skunk Works?
Oh
Yeah, pull your get up a little
Kelly
closer
Johnson,
to your mic.
U2,
And Ben-
SR-71, Have Blue,
and his replacement was Ben Rich.
Tacit blue.
Also
Have
too,
Blue.
Yeah. And Ben Rich and I spoke once a quarter for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And the reason we got a Blackbird, in August of '89, he called me at home and said, "Hey, Jim, Blackbird's not going to make it through Congress. If anybody can scrounge one, you can." And I did.
Right.
That's why that's the CIA now. But I forget where I was going with this. I hate it when my mind goes in one direction and then all of a sudden.
You know,
You know-
that's the thing. My mind and my mouth always seem to go in different directions,
yeah.
and they do it independently
Yeah,
without asking for
Yeah.
permission.
But like I say, I talked to him 10 days before he died. He was at USC Medical Center dying of esophageal cancer. And he said, "Jim, we have things out in the Nevada desert that's 50 years beyond what you can comprehend." And he knew I can comprehend a hell of a lot. And if you've seen movies like Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort.
Jesus.
So, I mean, this is the number one guy at the Lockheed Skunk Works. He was Kelly Johnson's right-hand man, and the
Yeah.
only person that was really capable of, filling his shoes. I know most of the head skunks. I met Kelly. I knew Ben. I was Ben, and I had a 20-plus year friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And they all all the living ones liked my 75 years of Lockheed Skunk Works book. Robert has the book there.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I've got a signed copy
It-
sitting on my
It's a
right under my
5.5
TV.
pound. It's a 5.5 pound hardbound. 75 years of the Lockheed Skunk Works. That guy covered 43 programs. There's probably 43 programs I know nothing about. But
Well,
there was-
you're working on a new one with the Charlie of the Sea tuna boats, aren't you? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I am. I have been waiting since 2015 to get on an Ohio class SSGN Arsenal boat. I need to finish it. I have a hardbound book, volume one's on the Los Angeles class and the Los Angeles class improved and Know Your Adversaries. The volume 2 is the Seawolf Virginia class, that's out. And volume 3 will be the Ohio boats. I have the C4 and the D5 boats covered. I need to cover the differences on SSGN.
For those of us who only know what a sub is by a foot long
It's
at
a
Subway with
506
what is
foot,
the Ohio class kind of Subway sandwich?
560 foot, 43 foot diameter, 18,000 tons submerged. There's about 140 mainly guys. They now have women on board. Why they would want to be on the submarine, I have no idea.
Oh my God! A sealed tube underwater with a handful of dudes. It would wear me out. You put
Right
a
there.
whole bunch of them and a
Under-
woman in there. Oh,
Yeah, I
she's
bet
got
it
a
would.
chance.
I bet it would wear you out, Professor.
Yeah, and in an Ohio boat,
Touche.
it's the largest. It's the largest of the submarines. You don't feel the movement. I was down in the lower level in the what they call it Sherwood Forest, where the missile tubes were, and all of a sudden, the boat starts shaking. I said, "What the hell's that?" And I'm with my, at the time, my stepdaughter, Molly, the brat. I would, her boyfriend has got me on the sub. He was a nuke. His name's Eric. He said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, that's 60,000 shaft horsepower going in reverse." So what do you mean? He says, the floating bridge is stuck. It's a normal occurrence. And I've been in the sail of the Henry F. Jackson, going through the Straits of Juan de Fuca, the same place that Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman were. And this boat's going on patrol. They're going to go out and do an angle and dangle, and then come back in and drop off non-essential, and I would be the non-essential. But I'm up there, I'm looking around, and it says, look behind me, there's 100 hydrogen bombs back there. And I said, Gene Hackman doesn't have a thing on me. I do not. I even have more of one now because he's not with us anymore. But
Too soon.
it was just an
Be
interesting.
a little.
Yeah, and I really got to know a lot of submariners. I get an invite to the USS Vallejo. I think it's 769.
You said Vallejo?
Yeah, Vallejo, the SSN 769, USS Vallejo, and he said invited me to be a member of their group because apparently they know I like submarines. So I had a picture of me at the ballast control station of the USS Connecticut. And I'm wearing just a white shirt. I'm turning around and the picture being taken. And some guy said, "I was in the Connecticut." I saw that. I said, "How in the hell did that guy get a camera on the Connecticut?" I said, "I asked." They're like my books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of asked, weren't you recently inducted into the Old Farts Hall of Fame somewhere?
I go out. I'm driving out at the end of March, heading to Minnesota. I'm being inducted into the Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame.
Oh, cool.
And one of the original members of the Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame is Charles Lindbergh. Charles Lindbergh. He's from Little Falls, Washington. Little Saw.
Well, you were. Didn't you tell me you were at the parade when he came back the first time? Lindbergh.
Your what hurts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why you got to pick on him like that, man?
Because he asked for it. He steps up.
And Karen, you're from Quebec.
No, I'd say I'm from the greater, but I am what you would know north of Spokane, Washington. So the Kootenays
Okay.
are known as the British Columbia area, West Kootenays.
Yeah, you mentioned something about Quebec.
Ryan Valley is there. I've been there too, but that's where Ryan Valley is.
Yeah, I worked. The company had a manufacturing facility out of Drummondville, right there on the St. Lawrence. I worked at a Mirabel. It was interesting. I worked for 5 French-speaking companies that don't speak a word of French.
I still do, but it's rusty.
Of course, colonial French and Parisian French are 2 different things. So,
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I-
like that's like
I've only ever been to Ontario,
that's
I've been
like
there.
Southern English and Midwest
Kingston.
English. You know, we
Know that.
I was born in Southern California. We don't have an accent. When I moved to Chicago, all these people are like, they're talking this weird shit. And then I moved down to Atlanta. You people got an accent down here. You talk all kind of funny and shit. Nobody could figure out where I was from because they couldn't pin me on anything. But I told my daughters when we moved to Atlanta, I said, it's the first time I hear all y'all come out of any of your mouths, we're out of here.
You say that a lot, though. Like, I don't use A and stuff in my thing, but y'all.
Yeah,
I listen to you. You have an accent. You got that drawl from that southern.
I spent 21 years mucking around on that shit, and some of it is still hard to get off.
Well, I tell you what, much to the chagrin of all of the northern United States, y'all is in the dictionary.
That's right.
Y'all.
So
Y'all.
There is a y'all in there.
Now, I had
there is, it's in there, and you know, hey, you got to understand how to conjugate things properly.
Well,
If you were talking about a large group of people,
it would be
it's
all
not
y'all.
y'all, it's all y'all. Yeah,
That's everybody.
y'all is singular, all y'all is plural. That's
Well, all y'all, we've been at it here for almost 4 hours, and
yeah.
I have just been enjoying the shit out of this
I
for a
enjoy it too. I mean,
spontaneous.
it's great to hear it. Yeah.
I'm
Karen,
I'm I'm
nice to
I'm
meet
I'm
you.
waiting to get the
Thank you.
I'm waiting to get
Likewise.
I'm waiting to get the email at work on Tuesday where it's like, yeah, so we were watching you on Professor
Yeah.
Bauer's show.
Yeah.
And we're
We
waiting
need you
for
to.
what's the 5 things you did last week, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got on the show, got off the show.
Right? Yeah.
I would say NCIS, but whatever the Army's CID,
hmm
knocking at your door at 4 a.m. or
Right.
breaking
With the
down
Air
your
Force, it'd be
door.
OSI.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had someone call OSI me. This is years ago, and I had 3 OSI guys show up at my door at 4:30 in the morning with Naval Intelligence and 2 Air Force OSI, and I said, "What seems to be the problem?" He said, "Well, you contacted the commanding general of the 1st Marine air unit, whatever it is, asking for the the federal standard paint colors of the OA-4M Skyhawk. Now, they don't give anything to the Marine Corps that isn't broken in leak oil. This was a paint job. There was nothing classified. Not even, I mean,
Yeah.
and these guys knocked on my door and they said, "Hey, you want to see something that was classified 5 years ago, but you can buy it at the local, Borders, whatever it was back then." I brought out the SR-71 flight manual. And I said, 5 years ago, you could have thrown me into clink. Now, if you want your own personal it's $100. We built motor books, printed up 1,500 of them, and they sold them all in 15 months, $100 a piece. So, so I said,
They
"My
showed
God,
up to your doorstep over paint job on a Marine Sky Raider or a
Yeah,
Skyhawk.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's Skyhawk, yeah.
Yeah.
They call it a scooter, yeah.
hmm
I mean, it's a fantastic little airplane. It's a real
Yeah.
workhorse.
Oh yeah.
A buddy of mine had 3 tours in Vietnam flying those things. He was a Marine. It turns out I retired as E7. I was an E9 slot, but because of the peace dividend, I was retired. And not willingly, but oh, by the way, you were going to make E8 on the next rotation. Guess what?
Jesus.
I said, what? I said, you're being retired. I said, well, fuck. I said, I'll go wash dishes somewhere for 2 years or 18 months, whatever the statute, whatever it is. let me try to retire as an E8. As it was, I was an E7, but
Yeah.
Well, and this is what happens when I try to shut the show down an hour ago, and
it's never
Oh,
worked.
you did?
we, yeah,
It's
you
never-
don't remember
Robert,
because
Robert, it's never worked. Why even try?
and I tried to do it again here about 10 minutes ago, but I mean, I have just had an outstanding time, and I appreciate everybody jumping on and tossing some nuggets around and seeing what connects. Because I got to tell you, things have changed, right?
This is going to be.
It ain't like it used to be.
This is going to be. 2025 is going to be the most significant year for 18 months in the history of this country.
Oh, I think planetary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is my belief based on a lot of different things. Jack Gordon told me 25 years ago. He says, I can't tell you. I mean, I can't tell you what I'm working on, but in 25 years, it's gonna blow your mind. It's 25 years. It's this year.
Shit's
So-
about to get so real, people are not going to know what to do with it.
And
And the thing is that you have to be, in my opinion, you have to be connected and focused
Excuse me.
so you can get through it as successfully as possible. Because a lot of people are not going to get through it very well.
but it's gonna be a real.
But those
holy
that
shit
do
year.
on the other side of this is going to be some fucking amazing, beyond your imagination kind of shit. So try to get through it to get to the other side, because what you're gonna see on the other side is gonna blow everybody's minds, and it will be the revealing of the reality that we actually inhabit in a way that we're going to go, oh, damn, all that stuff was so wrong, but look at how right it is now.
Well,
I'm,
tell you
I'm
what.
jazzed.
if I don't see Zephram Cochrane conducting the first warp,
The first
operational
warp-
warp drive operation and being visited by the Vulcans, I'm not going to be impressed.
That is perfect. And when was that? It was 2063, right? April 4th of 2063.
I know I'm gonna live.
First
to be,
contact.
I think,
I'm living to be
first contact.
2050.
I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to have it in the next 5, 10
eight-
max, but I think we're actually going to have it in the next 5.
18 months.
18 months. And Karen, what do you throw your guess on the table? What do you think?
First alien contact.
The
Major contact.
global acceptance of alien.
Well, I was
there.
gonna say some of us are already like friends. So, like,
We're already. I know that's the thing.
I'm like,
I think my
I don't
daughter-
have to wait.
my daughter I love dearly. She's from another planet. She's got to be. I mean, she's adopted. She's 100% Korean. She's like, her brain works like no other human being on the planet. Photographic memory. IQ.
Oh, that must be nice.
IQ 170 plus. And I just love her to pieces. She lives in an alternate lifestyle, which is fine by me. I love her anyway. But she's always just been a joy. She's so different. And I watch people. That's when I worked for Xerox. I worked in Hollywood, and then I worked in downtown Minneapolis, and then I worked in the University District. So I've always had a chance to look at good-looking women and nice-looking people, and I could sit back at the Forum at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Sit back. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I smoke weed, but I don't smoke cigarettes. And just watching the people, and you just thinking to myself, I bet they don't own a mirror. Because if they had any idea how stupid they looked, they would have never left. They would have never left the room or come to Las Vegas. And there's a couple of I look at it, I have to go down and quit my laughing because they look so ridiculous. I mean, it's the kid girl from New Jersey with a very petite from the waist up, but with an ass about an axe handle and a half long, in one of those little tutu black skirts with and
Did her legs go all the way up to her ass?
it was all ass, I guess. Yes.
Oh, Lord.
I know, man. Oh man, dirty old man. Hey,
Sorry about that, but I had to.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
Is the first thing
you
came to
really
mind.
didn't. You didn't have to.
Well, but I apparently I had
outvoted.
to because I did.
Hey,
You're outvoted.
you have to be nice to me. I'm a senior citizen. Even my name, look down the bottom down over there. Where the fuck is it? There he is.
I got your seasoned senior citizen thingy right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great place to
Wrap it
shut
up.
this shit off.
Everybody. JP,
We've officially been on for too long.
Robert, Karen, with a delight.
We've been given the X. We've been like booted off
Yeah.
because like you have to go get sleep because it's after your pumpkin hour. I get it.
Yeah,
Well, I guess it's one. It's one there. It's only a little after 12 here.
Yeah, my
It's
computer automatically
3:08
turns
here.
off at 1 a.m. So I had to, I had to make sure it didn't stop.
Well, the only reason we're all on here is because we didn't have anything better to do.
This
Oh,
girl-
please. I forfeited Tony Pantalleresco's Discord room all party night for this.
Oh, see, well, somebody made a sacrifice. See,
I just
I
wanted to
had
let you
things
know
I
that.
had to do. You saw me mopping and putting away laundry. I had things to do.
See?
I'm telling you, that was serious podcast footage going down right there.
And I have to make raw cacao chocolates because I have to see David Hickey tomorrow because he's coming to Winlaw. And he said, have you got my chocolates ready? And I went, so now I got to go make raw wood chocolate so I can have my sound bath and gong and bring all my friends. So I have
See,
cacao to
so-
make. I have things to do, like please.
Hey, you can tell him to go fuck himself. It's okay.
No, I don't do that. He probably would. No. I don't want to give him any more ideas, Jim. I'm already in trouble.
Inspiration and
got a
imagination are
problem.
not my problem.
I mean, I've been to his place twice there, and
I saw once, yeah.
yeah, and it's just fun. It's just fun. Yeah.
Well, he's on this thing, right? Because we have a thing. Actually, Ryan Belly started it, so it's not my fault. But we're trying to extract the Canadian beavers up here. We have a problem. So
Really.
There's a Canadian beaver hunt afoot.
I use it with my full-time passion when I wasn't at work, or even when I was on work.
And you know what was so funny is after that joke came the next day, because it was all about Trump saying he's going to make this the 51st state, which of course was exactly the next day. And so what happened is all these memes were coming out with these little beavers going across the highway, dragging these twigs, right? Hi, we're the border security, we've got new paramilitary. And then the next one, which was even funnier, is they've got a guy with a hockey stick, a Canadian goose, and the Canadian beaver, and Trump's just running away from Canada. It was perfect. But you know what was cute? I got to say, because of course, only I would want to know, inquiring minds. So I went up to the Schwetmac tribes and about protecting the sacred, because they wanted me to come up there and meet with other indigenous tribes that were having visions of me coming up there. Anyway, we go up there and I looked at him. I said, "What do you call this thing? This Canadian goose?" Because there was no Canada. I said, "So what's the real name of this goose?" And they go, "Nigawich, Nigawich, Nigawich." And I went, and they said, "Listen to it. It's a creator sound. Nigawich, Nigawich." The sound that they make, right? So anyway, that's all I have to say about this Canadian thing. I'm done.
Wait a minute. This is a beaver or a goose making that sound? I'm
No,
lost.
it was the Canadian goose.
Oh, the goose.
Yeah.
For a minute there, I thought that's not what a beaver sounds like.
No,
not any
no,
beavers
no.
that I've seen.
Yeah.
There.
She's
Yeah,
I
and then
thought,
usually,
I thought,
she's usually
I thought
yelling at me.
Canadian geese just honked.
next
Yeah.
class will be. Next class, I'll teach you the national anthem of Manitoba and the Bear Clan song.
Oh
Do
my
the old
God.
Canada and Canadians. My gosh. Anyway,
Oh my God.
Well, you know what they
that-
say about Canada.
what?
When the sorries stop, the war crimes start.
Well, I'm looking forward to our new neighbors becoming part of the family down here, and we will. we
You know,
will.
if Trudeau hadn't been like, all right, I'm stepping down, I don't know. I could see sections of Canada being like, no, we're all for it, man.
We're
51st
out.
state, let's go. I'm sick of this guy.
Well, if Danielle wasn't so busy taking the cold, maglev to go wherever to Mar-a-Lago in the White House, it's like, we have too many connections. We know what the hell's going on up here.
Yeah.
Seriously.
and
they
the thing
think they're
is-
secretive.
And the thing is that we got our own bacon, we got our own trees, we got our own butter, we got our own syrup.
Maple syrup.
And the only thing we
Breakfast.
don't have is enough very overly polite people who give in to everything. So we need more of those, very
No, we're
easygoing
not doing that.
Canadians that
No.
always put up with shit. Because here's the thing. We have finally gotten to the point where Daddy's home.
No,
and-
please, that clone.
And
Oh, don't
that one in
put me on Warp
particular.
Speed and Lockstep and everything
But-
else, or I'll
but
probably
all
in
of
Epstein
the
Island.
all of the nasty shit's gonna come out, but
What are the
the
Black
thing
Sun?
is that all the nasty people are scurrying about and they're showing their asses. They're running around trying to hide themselves.
One big ops, man. That's all I
And
got to
it's-
say.
A-
A couple
and
of
it's fun
hockey
to
players
watch.
came down the laneway the other day.
And what did Big say? Oh, you forgot ketchup. Yeah, we have our own ketchup too.
It's okay. We that hold the water with the flag. Just remember that.
Yeah,
I'm
see,
sitting on
we
a
got-
gold and a silver mine here, and all the water that's feeding your ass right now comes right through my backyard.
And just remember,
Remember
that
that.
Americans. How do Americans like their water? Filtered through barley and hops.
Well, the hops problem, we could talk about what it does to you in the East. Feeds
All right,
the NATO. Okay,
I think
I got to go
we've
make
pushed
chocolate.
We've
Yeah.
pushed it right up to 3:59 and 20.
Okay, we got to go. Or you're going to lose this.
5,
Bye.
6. It's going
Ciao.
to disconnect us if we don't
Arrivederci.
disconnect ourselves.
Placebo.
Arrivederci a Roma.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Take her easy, y'all.
Thanks, Jason.
Have a good one,
great.
bro.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. Later.